is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning. The Bahamas to receive vaccines from the U.S. America to distribute millions of doses worldwide. Lockdowns extended on Cat Island and Andros. And unions barred from staging the Labor Day motorcade. We're getting reaction. It's all straight ahead this morning. I'm Dwight Strachan, and this is Morning Blend.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up. It's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's here. It's the start of the end of the old way. Revolution. Wake up. It's a new day. Wake up. It's a new day.
Good morning again, Bahamas. It is Monday, June 7th, 2021. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Again, I'm Dwight Strachan. In a moment, Pamela Musgrove will be joining us. Also this morning, we'll be talking with the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation about their hurricane preparedness webinar that's taking place tomorrow. And later in Morning Blend Business, the countdown is on to Nassau being a home port for cruise lines like Royal Caribbean. That begins this Saturday. We are talking with the Nassau Cruise Port about how they are preparing for this. Again, just days away now from this being a reality. It's all straight ahead this morning, but first it's time for the overnight, the latest breaking news from while we're sleeping, and the top national and international headlines this morning. In the overnight, the Bahamas will receive 2 tranches of COVID-19 vaccines from the U.S. That's according to Bahamas Ambassador to the U.S., Sidney Cawley, who added that the first tranche is expected to arrive by the end of the month. Cawley said that the White House informed him that Caribbean countries, including the Bahamas, will immediately receive doses on a per capita basis. Cawley telling the Nassau Guardian that it was explained that the Bahamas will be eligible for a bilateral country-to-country tranche by the end of June. But he said he was not in a position to say how much of the vaccine the country will receive. He said the Bahamas, of course, has been receiving vaccines from the COVAX facility, 33,000 doses from COVAX in 2 deliveries, and that the country will... There's no certainty as to when exactly that will take place, though, with the U.S. In April, the White House announced that the U.S. will share 60 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine, which is awaiting approval from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration with other countries. 1 month later, it announced that the U.S. will also share an additional 20 million doses, which will include Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, and Moderna. On Thursday, U.S. President Joe Biden provided details on the global vaccine distribution. He said at least 75% of the doses, nearly 19 million, will be shared through COVAX, including approximately 6 million doses for Latin America and the Caribbean. Meanwhile, While Minister of Health, remember Wells, says 120,000 people in the Bahamas must be vaccinated against COVID to reach herd immunity, former Health Minister Dr. Dwight says he believes the true number is actually double that. He says everybody is trying to get to the very elusive threshold of 80% of adults. He says if we do a back-to-back napkin arithmetic calculation, we probably have about 300,000 adults, and 80% of them is about 240,000 or so. And with 1,345 new cases and 31 COVID-related deaths reported in May, the grim figures were notably higher than those in April, continuing the upward trend that has been seen so far this year. In April, 1,262 cases were confirmed, more than double the 613 cases recorded in March. 11 COVID-related deaths were confirmed in April, but a number of deaths still under investigation. The total of COVID-19 deaths or cases recorded in the country surpassed 12,000 over the weekend. Confirmed cases have been trending downward in recent weeks, though. Between May 16th and May 22nd, 367 cases were confirmed. 245 cases were recorded from May 23rd to May 29th. In the past week, from May 30th through June 5th, some 208 cases were confirmed. Investigations continue into homicide over the weekend. A man was shot and killed on Milton Street off Blue Hill Road on Saturday night. Police say shortly before 10 p.m., a group of men standing on the street, and they heard gunshots. 4 of the men realized they had been shot. They were taken to the hospital, and 1 of the men died. Police asking for anyone with information to contact them urgently. Overseas, an express train barreled into another that had derailed in Pakistan before dawn today, killing at least 40 people. More than 100 were injured, and rescuers and villagers worked throughout the day to pull survivors and the dead from the crumpled cars. Cries for help pierced the night as passengers climbed out of overturned or crushed rail cars, and local people rushed to the scene in the southern province of Sindh. Later in the day, heavy machinery arrived to cut open some cars in the hopes of rescuing several people still believed to be trapped. The military deployed troops and helicopters to assist. The Milat Express train around 3:30 a.m. derailed, and the Sir Saeed Express train hit it minutes later. According to a deputy commissioner in the area, it wasn't immediately clear what caused the derailment. And the driver of the second train said he braked when he saw the disabled train but didn't have time to avoid the collision. In sports, given the unavailability of professional athletes due to conflicting schedules and college athletes due to school commitments, and them also not being released, the country has a subdued representation in the relays at the inaugural NACAC New Life Invitational in Florida. The Bahamas had representation in the men's 4x1 meter relay, women's as well, and the men's 4x400 meter relay. In the women's 4x100 meter relay, the team of collegiate athlete Denisha Cartwright, professional athletes Tania Gaither and Adria Seymour, and high school athlete Paige Archer ran a time of 44.41 seconds for second. Trinidad and Tobago won that event. The Bahamas finished 4th in the men's 4x100 meter relay in Miramar at the NACAC event, running in a time of 40.49 seconds. From soccer, in a game in which the Bahamas senior men's national soccer team was the underdogs, they pulled through and played spoiler to regional powerhouse Trinidad and Tobago, playing to a 0-0 draw. This was Saturday here at the Thomas A. Robinson National Stadium. The game was the Bahamas' final group match in the FIFA 2022 World Cup qualifiers for the CONCACAF region. The squad managed to walk away from a tough Group F with 1 point, 1 draw, and 3 losses in the round. For Trinidad and Tobago, though, who was the favorite in the group, the loss means they will not finish first in Group F, and the World Cup run for 2022 will come to an end. They will not advance to the second round, but rather it'll be St. Kitts and Nevis. And a somber Labor Day weekend for sports in the country as legendary basketball player and Bahamian sportsman Peter Gilkut passed away. Educator and noted sportswoman Edna Forbes also passed away. You can read more about their achievements in today's Guardian Sports section. And from the NBA, the LA Clippers moving on to the second round, beating the Dallas Mavericks, 126-111. And the Atlanta Hawks beating the Philadelphia 76ers in Game 1 of their second round playoff, 128-124. That's sports, and that's the overnight. Time for your first look at weather. In your weather for today, we've got a ridge of high pressure that continues to dominate the weather across the islands with moderate breezes and pleasant conditions. Beachgoers should be alert, though, for rip currents along east and south coast beaches. For all areas today, look for partly sunny, warm, and breezy conditions with isolated showers or thunderstorms becoming fair and breezy with a chance of passing showers tonight. Small craft operators should continue to exercise caution. Winds east to southeast at 15 to 20 knots and gusty at times. Seas 4 to 7 feet higher in gusts. Temperature-wise, we are at 79 degrees under fair skies in Nassau, 78 in Freeport. Look for highs getting up to 89 Fahrenheit, 31 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 73 Fahrenheit, 23 Celsius. That's your first look at weather this morning. We'll have your extended outlook coming up after traffic in just a bit.
Technology serves to make our lives better, so why not your business too? At Custom Computers, we've been maintaining our knowledge and relationships with top tech companies since 1987 and carry only the most trusted brands like Apple, Microsoft, HP, and more. No company has helped more businesses build reliable IT systems than Custom Computers. You name it, we've done it. Call 396-1101 to talk to any of our business experts. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
Digital banking, online, RBC. RBC banking, online, pay your bills anytime.
RBC Digital Banking is so easy. Granny and Granddad can do it. Sign up for online banking or download the RBC Caribbean app.
With RBC, it's safe and easy. Send your money hassle-free. RBC.
Visit rbc.com/Caribbean/bank at home. RBC Royal Bank. Banking reimagined.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
BTC is elevating the Bahamas with our super-fast fiber internet experience. More people in more places can enjoy the best home connection starting with 100 megabit speeds. With over $6.5 million invested, our network grows stronger each day, delivering the best home internet for all your needs. Call us at 242-225-5282. Visit btcbahamas.com or any retail store to upgrade to the super-fast fiber internet experience on the Bahamas' best fiber network.
Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Street, has those hard-to-find fasteners for you right now. You can find stainless steel regular hex, carriage bolts, galvanized bolts, threaded rods, nails, self-tap screws, sex bolts, anchor bolts, turnbuckles, masonry tools, hand tools, and weed whacker strings. Check out the rope selection and car body fasteners, too. Special orders are welcome. It's your #1 fastener store. Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Streets. Call 326-1976.
Travel less, but vacation more by indulging yourself and your family with the ultimate staycation getaway at Atlantis. Sleep in, relax, play, go out. Say yes to a fantastic staycation in your very own paradise just over the bridge. For reservations, call 363-6483 or visit Atlantis Local on Facebook for details.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's here. It's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. Also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at Morning Blend 969 or Facebook.com/Morning Blend 969. Text us on the Guardian Radio text line powered by BTC 422-4796. Standard text rate supply. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan. Joining me now, Pamela Musgrove.
Good morning, Dwight. Good morning, Bahamas.
Good morning, Pam. Always great to have you with us.
Good to be here.
I hope you had a good weekend.
I did.
It was a holiday weekend.
Yes.
It went by so quickly.
I heard you on Thursday asking for an extra day.
Yeah, I thought I needed one after the show we were having. It was a very interesting one. A challenging one. But hey, we made it through, and here we are. Hopefully this will be a good week.
How long have you been at this?
Almost 10 years now.
I think you should have been used to it.
Well, you think so?
Yeah,
it's changing.
Yeah,
it's changing. It's changing. People are changing. People are
you
getting.
should have adapted already by now.
People were nicer when the show started. People will say I was nicer when the show started too.
Like I think our government should have adapted to this COVID by now in how we manage it.
Oh boy.
The same way.
We're going to get into that this morning. A lot to talk about this morning. And again, you can join the conversation on Twitter at MorningBlend969 or Facebook. Text us or call in 323-6232, 325-4316. 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us. All right. Coming up this morning, more weather and traffic. In our 8 o'clock hour, we're going to be talking with the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation. They have a hurricane preparedness webinar set for tomorrow. We are in the hurricane season, and it's forecast to be an active one. We're going to get what they have to say today. Then in our 9 o'clock hour, Morning Blend Business, we are gearing up for home porting. It starts Saturday. Royal Caribbean, their first cruise from Nassau begins this week. Are we ready? Nassau Cruise Port's going to tell us what they're doing, what they've done, and what we're expecting going forward. That's coming up. All right, so that's all ahead, but let's begin with what's in the news. And in the news, big headline in the Nassau Guardian, Bahamas to receive vaccines from the U.S. as America will distribute millions of doses worldwide. The U.S. has been promising this for a while, and they're going to do it, we're told, at least according to Bahamas ambassador to the U.S., Sidney Cawley. Our Jasper Ward writing about it in today's Nassau Guardian. The Bahamas will receive 2 tranches of COVID-19 vaccines from the U.S. Cawley says the White House informed him that Caribbean countries, including the Bahamas, will immediately receive the doses on a per capita basis. Cawley telling the Nassau Guardian, quote, "It has been explained to me that the Bahamas will be eligible for bilateral country-to-country tranche by the end of June. I am not in a position to say how much of which vaccine it is. In addition, the Bahamas is also entitled, because it is a signatory to the COVAX facility, to another tranche from COVAX. As you know, we've been getting vaccines from COVAX so far. Now, back in April, the White House announced that the U.S. will share 60 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine, which is awaiting approval from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, with other countries. Still not received that approval. It's taking a while there. I don't know.
Have they applied for it?
I believe they have, or I'm not sure actually.
But I mean, it's a competition going on.
Yeah, it is
the
a
US
European,
has,
right?
Yeah, Moderna. They have Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer.
Right.
And so, of course, they want to push their companies.
Yes.
With this. So a lot of this is geopolitical.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have to pay attention to that part of it. All right. So now the U.S. also announced that it will share an additional 20 million doses, which will include Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, and Moderna. On Thursday, U.S. President Joe Biden provided details on the global vaccine distribution. Apparently, he said, quote, at least 75% of these doses, nearly 19 million, will be shared through COVAX, including approximately 6 million doses for Latin America and the Caribbean, approximately 7 million for South and Southeast Asia, and approximately 5 million for Africa, working in coordination with the African Union and the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The remaining doses, just over 5 million, will be shared directly with countries experiencing surges, those in crisis, and other partners and neighbors, including Canada, Mexico, India, and the Republic of Korea. We are sharing these doses not to secure favors or extract concessions. We are sharing these vaccines to save lives and to lead the world in bringing an end to the pandemic with the power of our example and with our values. And we will continue to follow the science and to work in close cooperation with our democratic partners to coordinate a multilateral effort, including through the G7. Okay. So those numbers again, 75% of the 19 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're saying at least 75% of the doses,
Yeah.
which is nearly 19 million.
6 million for Latin America and the Caribbean.
Yeah, but 75% of 60 or 80 is a 19. So I'm not sure. And then it's showing that we only have about 6 million that will be for the Latin American and Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes us.
Yes.
And it's on a per capita basis. Mm-hmm. And we are kind of like down there.
Very, very
So
small.
I'm not sure how much of that we're going to get. That's going to be relatively
400. I don't know. No. But yeah, it's not going to be big. Not going to be big.
But you know what I want to know, and I'm going to listen out for this? How much in the budget was allocated to purchase vaccine? I am hoping that the government is planning on going outside of COVAX and purchasing directly.
Well, that's what it sounds. The Minister of Health made it sound like that's what they were doing with Pfizer.
No, that's what I want to know.
How much?
How much would there be budget?
That's a good question.
To actually purchase the vaccine, because to wait on COVAX has to do it equitably, and we are down the list. In terms of
small town Bahamas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be listening for that, because
definitely.
I would like to think that we have allocated several $1 million.
Yeah. Well, we have a caller who always says it, that why are we begging? We need to go and buy it. But, that means
No, I mean, if we are part of an organization that will give it to us, I have no problems with that. But then we on the side should also look to secure some of the vaccine. We've borrowed lots of monies, and I'm hoping that part of the monies, if they're saying that to be vaccinated is so important for our recovery, then I would like to think that they have placed the money where their mouths are, and they have allocated something in the budget, a sizable chunk to purchase.
Yeah. Also, last week we were talking about it. Many people were scratching their heads after what the Minister of Health said about the numbers that were needed. I mean, because people kept saying 80%. We've been hearing that for almost a year. 80% would need to get vaccinated. And then the Minister of Health said 120,000 people, which is an 80% of the population. And as the former Minister of Health pointed out, that's not even 80% of the adult population. So what's up with that number? But anyway, we are still going to hold on to that 80% number.
Right. I was trying to give the minister the benefit of doubt when he quoted that number, thinking maybe he was saying that an additional 120 would have been needed. But when I read his comments, no, I think
Even if you add that up to the people who are fully vaccinated now, still
no. But he didn't. He didn't say
even-
additional because I
No,
thought
he
this
didn't say
this
that.
comment that he made here. He said, you have a large portion who would have been exposed to the virus and who was asymptomatic, who showed no signs, so they would have not been tested. I would say if we can vaccinate probably about 120,000 of our population, we would be in good stead. And I think this is one of the challenges I have with our officials. We don't like to analyze data, information.
Yeah.
See, he is saying that, there was a number of persons who probably had the virus and they were asymptomatic.
Yes.
What is that number? I
Right.
bet you he cannot tell you.
Nobody knows that number.
Exactly.
Right. But also, we are relying on a lot of stuff that we're hearing from the medical community and speaking on this, pulling it out of thin air, right? So he's trying to imply that a lot of people would have some sort of, immunity because they
But
had...
even so, you do not know that number. You
Right.
did no
And
analysis
you don't know
to
how long
try
it's
to
going to
determine
last.
that.
You don't know how long it's going to last.
I think they know. They know. They just not
Oh,
saying.
okay.
They have an
Well, I
idea.
invite people who've had it to go and take an antibody test
Yeah.
and be surprised with the numbers that you get.
So I think that's my problem. I think focus on the data. Use the health professionals to analyze data to determine who you felt would have had the COVID, and then use that as a part of your discussion.
Yeah.
And stop, like you say, pulling stuff out of thin air to make an argument that
Yeah.
just makes no sense.
Yeah. So, hey, people are in for a lot of surprises. We keep hearing, it keeps changing, and I think that's very significant that some people have immunity for 3 months, some people have immunity for longer. But if you did one of those tests, you might be surprised. And so
The antibodies
we cannot,
test that we
right.
never did over here.
Well, they do it. Private companies here are doing it, right?
But it's not on large scale to determine if someone had
exactly.
COVID.
And so you cannot rely on somebody having it to say, oh, well, we've got between the people who are vaccinated and the people who've had it, we should be good. Nope, because you don't know how long it's going to last for. And if you did the test, you might be quite surprised. And I'm talking from experience because of some information has come to me. But anyway, okay. And then there's the lockdown has been extended for Cat Island and Andros as well. The Prime Minister making that announcement yesterday, extending the lockdown for North and Central Andros and Cat Island until June 14th. The lockdowns were implemented on May 24th to slow the spread of COVID-19. We're set to end today. But he says, quote, obviously, well, this is a farmer speaking to the NASA Guardian saying that it's needed because we're in a crisis. Quote, we have a rise in cases at this time in the North and Central Andros area, so the lockdown is needed. It's basically a shelter in place that would allow our surveillance teams and our healthcare providers to contain the virus. I think the lockdown is a needed element, but it's how it's utilized for the purposes of containing the virus. So that's going to be very interesting.
My
for them.
only thing about this is there has to be an end game, because you log down to flatten the curve, you open up, it's going to increase again. You log down to flatten the curve, you open up, it's going to increase again. What's the end game?
Yeah, absolutely. Or is it going to be the way it is, back and forth, despite vaccines? And this is on top of numbers in May that were much worse than April. Of course, April, much worse than March. And so the numbers are heading in the wrong direction, except for the past few days. We've seen a trailing off. We don't know if that's going to be a long-term trend. That's just a little tiny blip right now. But the numbers are terrible, and the number of deaths were also up as well. So a lot going on with COVID, and still. So that's what we're dealing with. Let's read a couple of these messages. I want to move on to Labor Day and what didn't happen on Labor Day, the motorcade that they planned. But let's read these messages, then we'll get to that. Somebody says here, we are not adapting to COVID because our decision makers haven't missed a paycheck since the pandemic started. Also, the fact that we are being told we need a certain number of people vaccinated to achieve herd immunity instead of a certain number with antibodies should give us pause.
I agree. And that's the science. You need the antibodies. Mm-hmm. You see, and you could get the antibodies by having the virus and and being vaccinated. And that's a conversation. It's an honest conversation.
Yeah.
Whether people agree with it, whether people like the tune of it or not, that's an honest conversation.
They go on to say it is impossible for the vaccine immunity to last longer than natural immunity. Yeah, you sure? So if a person's natural immunity lasts 3 months, then their vaccinated immunity would last less time. Now, I'm not too sure about that. And how certain are you about that? I'm not too sure.
Do you know why they're not talking about it? Because I think, like what the text is saying, you just need the antibodies.
And if that's the case, Texter, we should all be afraid. That means that nothing's going to work, right?
No,
because
I
some
think
people
this
are
is an
really
annual
not
thing.
getting.
This is an annual thing. This is like the flu.
My goodness.
You're gonna need a booster shot.
Oh boy.
But the key is that you have to get herd immunity and get it as quickly as possible to stop the spread and all these variants that are coming up and becoming so serious. And I don't think we're able to do that.
Yeah.
Because there's a supply issue as it relates to the vaccine.
This one says here, it's about time the U.S. live up to its world leader title. It's been acting selfishly for quite too long. Hopefully we get enough to reach that herd immunity. And finally, we won't hear that ask our neighbors for assistance argument again. Okay.
Oh, I don't think we're going to get enough from COVAX, from the U.S. Donation to reach herd immunity. We're a long way off from that.
This one says, people were masked straight through this, and transmission is hard when all parties wear masks. This isn't America where exposure is high because of noncompliance. Okay, there's been a lot of noncompliance here too, though. There's been a lot of noncompliance here. This one says, if you're shown on a video with no mask, you should be posted. As wanted by the police the next day. Now you need to stop. You need to stop, right? Because come on now. Okay, let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Early day, this is Doc University along with you and Palm, Dwight.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I want to make several points, probably 30. The first point is, I don't think that that person that sent that text pertaining to America are selfish. I don't think that's proper, for the simple reason that the thing is, America has to look out for its people. Our people, our government, right? Anytime they found like a island that have COVID, right? People have COVID. I think the government should deal with it other than closing down the island, okay? We pay our tax. So the thing is, buy the vaccine and deal with the people that are sick. Secondly, do you hear anything whereby that Bill Gates says that the people would need 3 doses?
No, we haven't heard anything. But it doesn't matter what Bill Gates says. But we've not heard that, no. And everyone, many doctors are saying there might be a need for a booster. Many are saying that.
Okay. Well, I forgot my other point. It got away from me. But thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you very much. This tweet here. What I find interesting is that y'all spend too much time trying to translate stupid nonsense from government ministers, especially Reverend Wells, into English. They have yet to show data or scientific research to justify any of the decisions they've made. Well, okay. This one says, did you see that crowd at Arawaki last night? I did not, but that seems to be every weekend, eh? No?
Yeah.
No? That's how
I
it's
think
been.
it's going to stop.
That's how it's been.
I don't think it's going to stop. It's not going to stop.
The people, yeah.
No, it's not going to stop.
Oh, my. Oh, well. All right, so we'll keep you posted on that. Let us move on to Labor Day. And we had a very interesting show on Thursday, Labor Day Eve, when we had the heads of the 2 umbrella unions on, and they told us about their motorcade plans, and they told us how it would seem they weren't getting permission from the Commissioner of Police. At least one said, well, we don't care, we're still going. And the police did stop the show Friday morning. For more on this, take a listen to this report from our Jillian Gray.
Heavily armed officers barred motorists from driving through the streets as they headed to the National Stadium to assemble for the motorcade.
All this government is doing is allowing the people to get fight and we will not stand by idly. Okay? And this is how the movement began. And this will be the way it will end.
One of the greatest days in our life that Bahamian workers have solidarity with each other, that they fought for the rights of all Bahamians. And here we are now, don't have permission to go on the streets. It's a damn disgrace what happened in this country, man. This got to stop.
This is the worst position the labor movement, the workers of this country have been. You tell me you can't even participate in a lawful, orderly motorcade. I mean, that take you back to 1942.
TUC President Opie Ferguson called it vexing that after waiting for more than a month for a response from the government, officials waited until the eve of Labor Day to deny their request for a motorcade.
He indicated that the chief medical officer and the OAC committee recommended that we ought not have this parade. Now, this is very vexing.
Dozens gathered to support trade unionists. Union leaders say today was only a representation of what they've been experiencing for some time: disrespect and neglect.
You must respect workers. Yes. If there is respect for workers, there will be improved productivity and there'll be a greater economy.
In front of the Labor Board explaining their lack of respect, their lack of adherence to not only the Constitution, the labor laws, and our collective agreement, but their lack of respect to the workers of this country. This must stop.
You got the tree utilities in court fighting for basic rights.
That's right.
How dare you put the Bahamians in such a position?
My Lord.
Imagine if we were to demonstrate. Your light off, your water off, and your phone off.
My Lord.
And you got us in court fighting for insurance when we go through that pandemic.
They added that while they may be ignored now, there will be a reckoning on Election Day, as they've advised their members to vote for those who are for the workers' agenda.
Those who are in the unions and those who are out of the unions, please do us all a favor to register. And my God, please vote for those people who have your interests. Because you can't tell me the government has the interest of us.
And one thing we can say, that if this current administration does not have our best interests at heart, then we should not go to the polls and have their best interests at heart. Because we cannot afford to fight for another 5 years.
Foreigners can't vote in elections. Bahamians do. And my thing is, you got to deal with your own people. And the PM has to come and talk to Labour.
Though officials allowed the crowd to line up and leave the stadium, they weren't allowed to continue on the planned route. After pulling off from the National Stadium, cars only made it a few feet before officers stopped each one, breaking the flow of the parade. What was a bustling train of more than 30 cars when they left the stadium had fizzled to less than a dozen by the time as they hit Tonic William Starling Highway. Dozens of party supporters joined PLP Deputy Leader Chester Cooper, who came to support trade unionists.
We believe it's been long enough for them to implement laws.
Yes,
sir. To get us back to a state of normalcy.
Yes.
But clearly, the Prime Minister is enjoying this state of play.
He's a dictator.
But nothing will stop our support for the labor movement today. And therefore, I congratulate Brother Ferguson for standing up for workers. I congratulate the labor movement on this, their diamond anniversary.
While labor unions over on Grand Bahama were also upset that their request for a motorcade was denied, but they didn't let the lack of permission stop them from celebrating.
It is unfortunate over the years, the sacrifices that were made by our leaders, our forefathers of yesteryear. We've come full circle and we find ourselves having to put up the same battle.
As trade unionists on Grand Bahama stood together to celebrate the 60th anniversary of Labor Day, they gathered outside the BUT headquarters to reflect on the strides in the labor movement.
You cannot tell the history of the modern Bahamas without the labor movement. And that being as important as it is, as significant it is, it behooved us to come out and say, to thank Sir Randall and to thank the workers for building this country and to celebrate with our brothers and sisters that milestone after milestone we have done for this country. We put our blood, our sweat, our tears. Some people have literally died. Some have made tremendous sacrifices. Even so, the people who denying us our sacrifices allowed them to sit where they are.
Despite the advances made over the past 60 years, trade unionists say being denied a motorcade was a dark cloud over what should have been a sunny day.
We're going to make the best of it. We're going to enjoy Sir Randall Fox Labor Day, and we're going to celebrate the life and times of Sir Randall.
We do obey authority because we are teachers, so we have to follow the rules. But we can't take today, however, to say we do have a voice.
For Vice President of the TUC, Kirkland Russell, the rejection for a motorcade left them feeling neglected and insulted.
June 16, the government expects its first school ship here in Grand Bahama. The convoys of buses and taxis are ready to move tourists coming in to Grand Bahama from the harbor to their point of destination. You mean to tell me bus drivers and taxi drivers do not know how to motorcade safely on Sir Randall Fox Labor Day?
Union leaders spoke out on several challenges facing the workforce on the island.
They believe that the best route to employ young Bahamians is to bring them on a contract or a temporary basis. These persons can't live or start their lives under those conditions.
We still do have issues as teachers. So we're standing here to say, even though we are obeying the order that, we do want a teachers' commission. We do want our classrooms to always be safe, our children to be safe.
Stand for your rights, because it's easily taken away. Right now, you don't have a job. There are 30,000 work permits out there. Work permits, and Bahamians can't get work permits.
PLP Chairman Fred Mitchell says the PLP did not support the Prime Minister's decision not to allow the motorcade and added that it's time to get rid of the restrictive measures.
Not only is it irresponsible to deny and suppress freedom, but what it also does is puts an unnecessary tension between the police and the people of the country. It is time to rid ourselves of these elements of the law which suppress our civil liberties. And today is never a better time.
All right, Jillian Gray with that very comprehensive report there. Both sides. We've got what happened in Providence and what happened in Grand Bahama on Labor Day. All right, so what do you make of this? We were hoping on Thursday that there would be some change of mind from the Commissioner of Police and the competent authority about this. But of course, that didn't come, and the police showed up and broke up whatever it could have been. So, was this reasonable or was this overreach? What do you make of what happened on Labor Day? It's a motorcade. It wasn't a parade. People in vehicles. Vehicles can only hold so many people. You could have made some rules that, hey, if you don't work together or not in the same household, perhaps you shouldn't be in this vehicle, or you have to wear your mask the whole time, something like that. Maybe. But what's the big deal? People are driving around all day, every day, all throughout the country. What difference would a motorcade have made?
I think they should have allowed it. I think it was a bad policy not to. We have to learn to move on and adjust to COVID. And this is one of the ways they were not allowed to do it as they usually do it in a parade form, marching. But the motorcade should have been allowed. I just think the policies of this government, if I judge this government and how they manage COVID, I would judge them poorly because the policies just seem to be so helter-skelter and it's not consistent across the board. If everybody had to apply to all of the rules, I think they would have taken more thought in how they go about with the rules. There's this, one of the executive orders is that you shouldn't have more than a certain amount of people at funerals.
Yeah.
So what people are doing now is they're having memorial services with lots of people, and then have private graveyard setting. You see, so people are finding ways around the orders, and they're not and the government isn't dealing with that. But when it comes to other people, they are quick to have a problem.
Yeah.
In the executive order, certain spas are not allowed to be open. So those spas in the city, Bahamian businesses trying to make money, cannot be open. But then Bahamians go to other spas that are allowed to be open. And I think that's the problem with this government and how they managed this pandemic. They have not been equitable in their decision making, and it's came to a disadvantage to Bahamians. It's almost as if they want Bahamians to sit by, be content with getting $100 a week if you don't have a job, be happy with getting some food parcels, and allow other people around us to make money for us to survive, as opposed to encouraging, incentivizing Bahamians to do for themselves to further the country.
Yeah, it's very sad. I want to get your views on it. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 422-4796. Before we get to those calls, you mentioned the funerals and the hypocrisy, the double standards that we see clearly, blatantly, over the weekend, Saturday, which is really the day after this non-motorcade. I saw a police officer on a motorcycle stop traffic to allow a limousine through, obviously heading to the what do they call them? What's
the graveside?
The graveside, but they have an official name for these things. It'll come to me in a second. But yeah, and there was a giant tour bus, huge. Following the limousine. Like, what's this all about, right? And I don't know. I mean, what's the number at now? Is it 20 still? 20 plus the efficient?
I don't know.
It keeps changing. Maybe
people
30.
People are finding a way around it.
Right.
And they're not being penalized for that. And then certain people are being penalized. There's
So you
nothing wrong with
avoid the
having-
motorcade there, because that is what that is, right? But you pile everybody up into one big bus or van, and that's okay?
Yeah.
That's not the same thing? What's the issue? I don't understand.
They should have been allowed to organize a motorcade safely with the routes organized and approved, and then encourage persons when you're done, no gathering in one place, and disperse and go to your various corners.
No parties afterward, no hugging up, no whatever. Same thing. But you're in a car, stay in your vehicle. When you are done, disperse.
But this restriction treating us like little children and that we cannot govern and manage ourselves, I disagree with.
Yeah. Let's take these calls. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dwight.
Hi, good morning.
And good morning, Pamela.
Good morning.
Yeah, Dwight and Pam, that definitely was the overreach in my view, right? Because I feel as if this administration is just doing anything to subdue any crowd that they feel could be against them, right? Because if that crowd was in support of this administration, there would have been no police in sight to stop it, right? That's what we and that's where we are when it comes to minutes today, right? Now, I wanted to say something on the COVID-19 saga because I don't know if I may like it used the word alleged, when it comes to if you heard anything about Dr. Anthony Fauci, and some of the revelations now what is coming forward in connection of COVID-19 and some of the things that was said that they're now finding out are not true and factual, and some of those things have to do with the actual vaccination, right, along with wearing masks. But I don't hear nobody saying anything about that in Obama, so I just put it out there just to see if any feedback would come back, Dwight.
It's a recent development. I think these just leaked a few
right,
days
Dwight.
ago. Yeah, so
I probably
give
do
them
already.
give them a couple days
Friday.
when we process it, and then the conspiracy theories will start.
Yeah, I got you, Dwight. You're right for that. I sure you didn't miss it. I know, but
No,
I know
I heard.
he does
Yeah.
I know he does his baiting, but I probably jumped the gun. But when it comes to what's going on in this country, right? Our politicians continue to demonstrate to us that they only managing whatever they met in place. They ain't have no innovation. They ain't have no creativity. All they doing, if you listen to our health leaders when they speak, all you have to do is go right on any American station and listen to what their health leaders are saying, and then guarantee you tomorrow you can hear them saying the exact thing, you know, and that ain't governance to me, right? Because we're supposed to be doing things for our citizens in a way that, America is trying to do for their citizens, you know.
Because, see, Carl, I agree with you totally. You have to look at the data, analyze it, and come to a conclusion. And what we have is a lot of lazy officials. They're lazy. And so that's why they just listen to what other people are saying and regurgitate it. You know, on a side note, I listened to the Attorney General. I think it's the Attorney General, but they were talking about, the G7 finance minister just agreed to a global minimum tax rate of 15%. And he's saying we will not be bullied.
I'll hang on and listen.
Into
Thanks a lot.
doing
Thank you
that,
very much.
right? And then I say to myself, based on what? Like, what data do you have to show that if you were to tax companies that reside in the country, it would be devastating for our economy? They're holding on to something that was done from Sir Stafford Sands days and don't know why they continue to do, because there has
they
never
know exactly
been.
why they're
No,
doing
they
it.
don't. They don't.
They don't
think
want.
they know.
They think this will attract the rich people they love. They love
Right,
supporting
because
them.
they don't have an analysis. They have not done
Yes.
an analysis of the effects of it. What will happen
Mhm.
if we do this? And then you can speak to people intelligently about it. They just continue to say, no, we won't do it.
Yeah. Let's take this call, and we've got to take a break. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Caller, good morning. Hi, good morning, caller. You're on the air. Turn on your radio for us, please. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Dwight. How are you, man?
Doing well.
And to the wider Bahamas, good morning. Listen, Dwight, the Progressive Liberal Party leader and chairman has given us the full okay to go ahead and support the union in this Labor Day parade. We have invested in gallons of hand sanitizer with vitamin E. The message has went out to the wider supporters of the audience, that there will be safety protocols in place, that you have to be members of the same household to ride in vehicles and buses, and also that there will be no big trucks and stuff with music. We had masks, we had sanitizer, we had everything in place to have a safe parade and everything. And for the company and the tour, apparently they heard that message and they know what Friday would have looked like if they had allowed the union to have that motorcade with the Progressive Liberal Party supporting them. They know what Friday would have looked like. And naturally, the Cumberland Authority did not want people in the Bahamas, in Nassau and New Providence, to see that kind of support that would have going to come out there on Friday. So there was no way he was going to allow that to happen. But I just want to say that the leader and the chairman of the Progressive Liberal Party, that they support labor and that they wanted everything to be done, according to COVID-19 safety protocols. That message has went out across the board and everything. So there was no need for the Cumberland Authority to cancel that motorcade. So I just want, Bahamians to know that it is time for us to get out there and register and vote, because there's no need for us to be under this type of dictatorial leadership who would not allow Bahamians to celebrate their civil liberties. Thank you.
No, the first part of that confused me a bit there. The opposition leader said that, he decreed Wow. This texter, it's a shame that Labor Day is politicized, but I blame the union leaders for allowing the politicians to hijack their efforts. Hey, that is a shame, but still no reason to, if that's what the caller's suggesting, and many are thinking, no reason to not allow an event because you think it's going to be a showcase for the opposition. You benefited from this as well when you were in opposition. Yep. You remember very well how much red we saw before the previous election, right? So this is how it works in this country, whether you like it or not, I guess. Let's take a break. We'll have more on this afterward. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9.
Father, we don't need to escalate. You see, war is not the answer, for only love can conquer hate. You know we've got to find a way to bring some love and here today. Picket lines and picket signs. Don't punish me with brutality. Talk to me so you can see what's going on. What's going on?
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
It's time for your Morning Blend Traffic Alert, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. And at this hour in your real-time traffic, as usual, Smile Butler Highway, your hotspot this morning from well south of Fire Trail, the northbound lanes, heading up to Tonique Williams Darling Highway. You're going to be seeing heavy traffic there. Gladstone Road also very busy this morning, northbound lane, heading towards JFK Drive. Blue Hill Road from north of Soldier Road, we're seeing that heavy traffic there up to the roundabout with Independence Drive and nearer to Carmichael Road as well. You're going to be seeing building traffic there. Carmichael westbound also building to Coral Harbor Road this morning. Elsewhere, Robinson Road, seeing some heavy traffic between Soldier and Old Trail Road. That's the westbound lanes. And pockets along Prince Charles Drive westbound at major intersections. So far, that's what we're seeing. That's your real-time traffic and your Morning Blend Traffic Alert, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank, banking reimagined. And 7:50, time for another check of your weather for today. We've got a ridge of high pressure that continues to dominate the weather across the islands with moderate breezes and pleasant conditions. Beachgoers should remain alert due to the risk of rip currents along east and south coast beaches. For all areas today, look for partly sunny, warm, and breezy conditions with isolated showers or thunderstorms becoming fair and breezy with a chance of isolated showers tonight. Small craft operators should exercise caution. Temperature-wise, look for highs getting up to around 89 Fahrenheit, 31 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to 73 Fahrenheit, 23 Celsius. In your extended outlook, high pressure is expected to remain across the area, generating breezy conditions. However, mid to upper level troughing will enhance the chance of shower activity. For tomorrow, Tuesday, look for mostly sunny and breezy conditions with a few isolated showers or thunderstorms, becoming fair and breezy at night with a few possible showers or thunderstorms. Wednesday, partly cloudy and a bit breezy with isolated showers or thunderstorms, mainly in the southeastern islands. In the tropics, we're watching an area of low pressure expected to develop over the southwestern Caribbean Sea by Thursday or Friday. Some gradual development will be possible thereafter as the system moves slowly northwestwards toward Central America. Formation chance through the next 5 days is still low at about 20%. That's your Morning Blend weather check, brought to you by Rev Cable Bahamas. Rev, you and us together.
Meet Jackie. Jackie's a hard worker with a steady income, but she has a personal loan and multiple credit cards to pay off. To keep her account current, Jackie opted for a loan from Fidelity Bank to consolidate her debt into one monthly payment and earn interest on a built-in savings account. Be like Jackie. Call 356-7764 to book a complimentary financial coaching session. Fidelity also offers virtual assistance. Fidelity, We're good for you.
Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Street, has those hard-to-find fasteners for you right now. You can find stainless steel regular hex, carriage bolts, galvanized bolts, threaded rods, nails, self-tap screws, sex bolts, anchor bolts, turnbuckles, masonry tools, hand tools, and weed whacker strings. Check out the rope selection and car body fasteners, too. Special orders are welcome. It's your #1 fastener store. Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Streets. Call 326-1976.
Roaming just got easier. Say hello to more with our new Liberty Prime plan. With more minutes, more texts, and more data to do the things you love right here at home and even when you travel. With the all-new Liberty Prime, Liberty Premium, and Liberty Elite, you've got one less worry. Roam again. Alive. Believe in best.
Believe in best.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
I don't need nobody. I did it on my own. Did it on my own. I walked through the fire. Barefoot shoes run away. What I want up in if I did listen what people say. I move in my pleasure. Won't fall under the pressure. Don't drop in no water, baby.
We are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Pamela Musgrove on this Monday morning. We are talking about what's in the news. Talking now about Labor Day, the motorcade that was not allowed to take place. Competent authorities saying that it was based on the chief medical officer, right? It was what the chief medical officer said it was not a good time.
Poor chief medical officer. Blame the chief medical officer.
Oh, boy. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hello.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, good morning, Pamela.
Good morning.
You know, Pamela and Dwight, I'm embarrassed about democracy. On Friday, we didn't have a right to exercise our democracy since the great greatest Prime Minister, the majority rule Prime Minister, give us the right to be free. And like he said, we need to fight for that right. And on Friday, they didn't fight for it. I don't mean physical fight. That all the humans, I'm ashamed of them, should have been on the road when knowing that their liberty was violated. Every time the commissioner normally gives permission to letter for any march or demonstration, that was never a problem in this democracy. Try to way older than you. And that was never a problem. Secondly, we need to congratulate the American female vice president. She will be the first acting president. Take note of this on Friday. You know why? You follow news, right?
I do.
Well, of course, the president is going to Great Britain. So our first female president is going to be on Friday. And I say our first because I'm proud of being an American and a being here. Have a good day.
Okay. But okay, all right. Well, that's great for her. Wonderful stuff. Sure. Okay, let's take this call. We want to get to your text messages. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Morning, Dwight. Morning, Pam. Morning, the Bahamas.
Good morning.
Hi. Good morning.
Is this not the same competent authority in the governing party who had a motorcade a few months ago, or sometime last year when the pandemic was still up and running and raging? Was this not the same government who told you and I that COVID-19 is dangerous to our health, so nobody should be out there gathering in motorcades, but yet they went out and violated the very same directives they put out?
They did worse. It wasn't motorcades. They were walking around. They were walking around in tight quarters in very close proximity to each other.
I think it was Martin Luther King who made a statement, and I stand to be corrected. Injustice to anyone or injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Right now, the DNA was attacked by this government and its hypocrisy. The Labor Day movement has now been attacked by this government and its hypocrisy. It is, my brothers and sisters, those of us who know and love God, country, and Constitution, we had better stand up now and rebel against the tyranny and the blatant hypocrisy by this minister-led F&M administration, because I can tell you all, as you see it happening to one, if we do not stand together and fight against it and stop it, it's going to start happening to more and more Bahamians. Lincoln Bain, Arithia Kamalafe, whoever else was a part of that Labor Day or the other Labor Day thing on Friday. We are all Bahamians who are now going through the same hell today that the labor movement and Bahamians went through in the 50s and the 60s. History is repeating itself because of a lot of us do not know it, and too many of us are bowing down to the tyranny. So my closing comment is, my brothers and sisters, please, this country is too important for us to let the F&M or the PLP or any political party take away our rights. God gave it to us. We must stand up and protect it. We must stand together, or we will certainly hang together.
Okay.
God bless you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
I
it.
felt that Friday was a good opportunity to show that we are adapting to COVID, and we are finding ways to operate as safely as possible with the motorcade. Like I said, it was not a parade where persons were standing so close to each other, but you were in your cars. And that would have been a wonderful opportunity to show that we are trying to adapt.
Yeah, absolutely.
To this, because many persons and a lot of the scientists around the world are saying this is going to be with us for a while. This isn't going anywhere. And so we have to learn as a country to begin to adapt and to operate as safely as possible with COVID.
Let's take a break for news. We'll be back with more on this and more Morning Blend. Stay with us.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. Also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at Morning Blend 969 and Facebook.com/Morning Blend 969. Text us 422-4796. And now at 8:19, time for another check of your weather for today, brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. We've got a ridge of high pressure that continues to dominate the weather across the islands, bringing some moderate breezes and pleasant conditions. Beachgoers should be alert, though, for rip currents along east and south coast beaches. For all areas today, look for partly sunny, warm, and breezy conditions with isolated showers or thunderstorms, becoming fair and breezy with a chance of passing showers tonight. High temperatures getting up to close to 90, about 89 Fahrenheit, 31 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to 73 Fahrenheit, 23 Celsius. In your extended outlook, high pressure is expected to remain across the area, generating breezy conditions, but mid to upper level troughing will enhance shower activity as well. So for tomorrow, Tuesday, look for mostly sunny and breezy conditions with a few isolated showers or thunderstorms, becoming fair and breezy at night with a few possible showers or thunderstorms. Wednesday, partly cloudy, a bit breezy, isolated showers with thunderstorms mainly in the southeastern islands. In the tropics, we're watching an area of low pressure expected to develop over the southwestern Caribbean Sea by Thursday or Friday. Some gradual development will be possible as the system moves slowly northwestward toward Central America. Formation chance through 5 days is low at 20%. That's your Morning Blend weather check, brought to you by Bahamas First. What's first for you comes first for us. And we've got another check of your weather for this morning. Of your traffic for this morning. We've got in your real-time traffic. Heavy traffic on Samara Butler Highway as usual. The northbound lanes heading towards Tawny Williams Darling Highway Heavy from south of Fire Trail this morning. Gladstone Road also looking busy for you today, northbound towards JFK Drive. Blue Hill Road, another hot spot from St. Vincent Road all the way up to Independence Drive, especially north of Soldier Road, the northbound lanes, and towards the Independence Drive roundabout. And Independence Drive is also busy westbound mainly, but eastbound as well, heading towards the East Highway roundabout. Carmichael Road, building traffic eastbound towards Blue Hill Road, and westbound as you head out toward Coral Harbor Road. Elsewhere, we've got Bernard Road, seeing some heavy traffic westbound this morning. We've got Marathon Road northbound and Eastern Road, pockets along Eastern Road westbound this morning. Those are your hottest spots. That's your real-time traffic and your Morning Blend traffic alert, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank, banking reimagined.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
If you play with them puppy, lift your side your mouth. Now I won't say I didn't accept anybody help, but if I didn't at first step out, they would never gonna know what I want. Can't trust anybody.
We're back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan, Pamela Musgrove on this Monday morning. In a few minutes, we're going to be talking with the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation. They have a hurricane preparedness webinar set for tomorrow. We'll get some details about that in just a few minutes. Just want to quickly read the last of your text messages that came in before the break on what we've been talking about, the motorcade that was not allowed by the competent authority and the Commissioner of Police. This person says here, yes, they should have let the motorcade proceed, but Pam, they would gather afterwards. Guaranteed, because these union leaders mount a juicy and they can't help from putting on a show.
And I think that's where the police should be there to ensure that they didn't.
Yeah.
The police would be at the end of the motorcade, enforcing the law and asking them to disperse into their various corners.
They're capable of doing it. They were there at the beginning of the motorcade and they stopped it from going. So they could be there at the end and stop it from getting out of hand. Absolutely. Another one says, tell Pam to stop being politically correct. Spas and hotels are allowed to open and not Bahamian locations. Further, what's the difference between hundreds of people lined up in cars waiting for free groceries and a motorcade? That's a very
true,
good
because
point.
I have been to a spa at one of the facilities that are allowed to have it because I couldn't do it at within the city.
Yeah.
And so what it does is it's a disadvantage to Bahamian businesses that really need it and employ persons. And then you have other people that are allowed to get preferential treatment.
And they've proven that they are able to follow the protocols. They know what to do. They can have the appointments spaced out. There's no reason for this.
Yeah, and that's not right.
Yeah. This one says, on one hand, we're worried about the rise in cases. We admit that there has been a lapse in the following of said protocols. And now we're advocating for a motorcade, which negates the order. Does it really now? Anyway, okay. They gathered initially and in overpacked vehicles. These protocols are based on the advice of health officials. These orders are in no way, shape, or form benefits for this administration. All right, well, there you go, right? So, again, the police were there, and they could have said, nope, that's too many people for this vehicle. You need to go into another vehicle. That could have easily happened, right? People are driving around all day long. This
Dwight,
is happening.
Earlier in the year, political parties were campaigning, and persons were saying to them this was not right because we were still in the midst of COVID, and they denied it.
Yeah.
They continued to deny it. They were walking around in large groups, knocking on people's door, campaigning. This is a motorcade. A car can only hold so many people. And if it's organized, you're driving to the streets on designated routes to get to where you need to go.
This one here. I beg to differ from the views of a caller who you concurred with as it relates to listening to what experts' views are on COVID-19. The views or information we get is from first world countries. Therefore, we should make adjustments from their expert advice to better suit our country. Everything said might not be compatible with our country. Well, that means I think you're agreeing with the caller. That's what he's saying, that they're only parroting, they're repeating what they hear from these other world leaders.
Yeah.
And adjustments need to be made.
Must be made.
And that's
You
not
can't-
happening.
You cannot govern a country on sound bites from somebody else. You need to, they may say something that's interesting, get your data, analyze your data, and make the decision that best suits our country and our circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Yep. This one says here, the incompetent authority denied Bahamians to have a motorcade, but will allow cruise passengers to motorcade, motorcade from the airport to the cruise ships.
Mm-hmm.
Those same police officers that denied Bahamians will proudly escort the cruise passengers as they parade through our streets. The Bahamas is not for Bahamians, jokey leaders.
It'll be interesting. I think we're going to start home porting. So people will be walking downtown. I don't think there's anything to do downtown because it's largely closed, but people will be walking downtown.
There'll be things to do. The T-shirt shops and the jewelry stores will be open. Very authentic behavior experiences will be happening. This one says here...
Is the straw market open? For the home porting, is the straw market open?
That's a very good question.
No,
I can't.
that's a
I have
serious
no
question.
idea. That is
I
a
have no
very good
idea.
question. I
Yeah.
have no idea.
Okay.
I would be surprised.
Again.
That's a great question. We've not heard any talk about this at all.
Again. We are waiting
Let's
for
write
people
that
to save
down.
us.
We're supposed to be
just
talking about that later.
go to the
Straw market.
hotel and just go out, go to the front door, enjoy it, and go to the back door into the cruise
Just let
ship.
the hotels entertain you.
Yeah.
Do everything in the hotel.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah. The hair braiders and the jet ski operators have been asking the same questions. What about us? What about us? But
So
straw
then
vendors.
who
what
will
is
home
happening?
port? Who will home porting benefit at the end of the day? I guess government taxes. They get some taxes. But it doesn't
Oh, I
trickle
thought it
down
was a
to
rhetorical
the average.
question.
No, yeah,
Oh, okay.
No, it was.
Hey, well,
yeah.
I think you got the one thing.
Yeah.
Well, there's a
The
couple.
government-
No, some other people.
the government
The hotels
taxes.
too. The hotels too.
Well, that's
And then it comes
one
back
of
to
the
taxes.
challenges.
Yeah.
That's one of
Yeah.
the challenges.
Well, that's how it's always been.
Yeah.
Won't change anything.
Yeah. See, the key, Dwight, for us to really experience the benefit from tourism is for more of the tourism dollars to remain in the country.
Right.
Should be the strategy. How do we keep more of those dollars into our country?
Right.
The way it's structured, most of those dollars leave.
Mm-hmm.
You have a leakage. And that's why we are not experiencing the ultimate growth, economic growth that we could from tourism.
Yeah. A few more messages, then we got to take a break. This one says, looks like the PLP control a few union leaders. I don't recall any other union leaders requesting a Labor Day motorcade parade. Okay, caller, texter, come on now. Only that the PLP, only that of the PLP, and if not so, why wasn't other union leaders there? What are you saying? They take away the true meaning of Labor Day for the selfish reason. You're very confused. Your text, you're very, very confused. Now, the opposition is always buddy-buddy with the union. That is how it's been, right? Because you're like, oh, we're going to be different when we get in, so the are pressing you. That's always the case. Now, the reason why they were requesting a motorcade is because we couldn't do the traditional parade. Well, why are you acting like you're brand new here? Come on, right? So that's why they asked for motorcade, because the parade would have been a violation of the protocols and all the rules that are in place. So they're saying
But I think the
motorcade
unions are
would have
all
been
over
better.
because right now we have two, I think it's two former union leaders that will be candidates on the F&M
At
ticket.
least.
I think, I'm not
at
sure. And then
least
we
two.
have always had union leaders with the PLP. So it's like they're split across
Yeah, it's always like that.
the political divide.
Yeah. This one says here, are we seriously getting upset for motorcade? I deliberately drove around Nassau on Friday, and the few patches of people in yellow shirts, too many had their masks on their chins. I don't care what political party you support. The reality is it's COVID, silly.
Yeah, no. See, Texa, because you may not care for it, it doesn't mean that other people should be disadvantaged as well. So, for instance, me, I'm not a nightlife person. So the 10 o'clock curfew really do not affect me.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that, Dwight, if you're a nightlife person, you shouldn't enjoy it. Or I should stop you from enjoying it. Right? That's your preference. And you shouldn't take it away from others.
Yeah. And we talked about this last week, And so it was clear that they weren't going to have permission. So if you didn't see all the unions out there, there's a reason, because they realized that they weren't going to get permission. Now, some people said we've got to challenge this. And we cannot sit back and allow them to have this type of authority when you can't tell me where to drive. Well, you shouldn't be able to. But apparently you can, and some of you are fine with that.
And you need those people in society that will challenge the status quo, or else things will continue to remain the same.
Exactly. This final text here. What is mind-boggling is the outstanding 30,000 work permits that still exist in our system, even during this pandemic. There are many Bahamians who've lost jobs and cannot find work. However, we still have 30,000 work permits out there. Most of these jobs, if you do your investigation, you will find Bahamians are more qualified to actually do these jobs, especially in the hotel or hospitality sector. What is wrong with our government? Yeah. And another final one, as I said. Tell me this. Why should we as workers celebrate Labor Day? We are back at square one. We are fighting for the same things that we were fighting for 50 years ago. Bahamian employees are suffering under all governments. So what are we celebrating for? It's very sad. It's very sad. Yeah, boy. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about hurricane preparedness. We've got that to deal with as well. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9.
I walk through the fire, barefoot sheets run away. What I would have been if I didn't listen what people say. I move with my pleasure, won't fall under the pressure. Don't trouble no water, baby. Don't ruffle no feather, baby. I don't need nobody. I did it.
Wake up. Roaming just got easier. Say hello to more with our new Liberty Prime plan. With more minutes, more texts, and more data to do the things you love right here at home and even when you travel. With the all-new Liberty Prime, Liberty Premium, and Liberty Elite, you've got one less worry. Roam again. Alive. Believe in best.
Believe in best.
Go cashless with CIBC First Caribbean and pay your credit card online. No need to wait in lines. Pay your CIBC First Caribbean credit card anywhere, anytime via online banking or the mobile app. Don't have online banking? Don't wait. Visit our website, CIBCFCIB.com, to sign up for online banking today. Go cashless with CIBC First Caribbean.
There's only one way to have a better morning. How? Start your mornings the best way with our 2 for $6 breakfast sandwiches at Wendy's. For a limited time, choose any 2 of your favorite breakfast sandwiches, including the fresh Strachan sack muffin, honey buttermilk chicken sausage muffin, or the sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit. Wash it all down with our cold brew shake or coffee. Better mornings always start at Wendy's. Wendy's, different inside and out. Excludes airport locations.
Travel less, but vacation more by indulging yourself and your family with the ultimate staycation getaway at Atlantis. Sleep in, relax, play, go out. Say yes to a fantastic staycation in your very own paradise just over the bridge. For reservations, call 363-6483 or visit Atlantis Local on Facebook for details.
Ain't no stopping now. Come with it. Come with it. Oh, yeah. Show you my motion. Whoa. Come with it. Come with it. Your turn to show me. This girl tell me every time I hear Reagan's replay, there is something that waits inside of me. It clears my mind and puts me in the zone. Makes me feel to party or never go home. She say all night I have been waiting for this song to come on, yeah. And now this Reagan scrape about to turn this party on. So I tell her why not.
We are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Pamela Musgrove and the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employees Confederation hosting a hurricane preparedness webinar tomorrow. Here to tell us all about this, very pleased to welcome back to the show. Everybody's been on before. I've got Deborah Deal. We've got Timothy Ingram with Summit Insurance. We've got Ken Hutton with the Abaco Chamber of Commerce. And we've got Carlos Palacios as well. Good morning, everybody. Great to have you with us.
To unmute.
Good to be here.
Okay.
Good morning.
Hi.
Morning. Pleasure to be here, Dwight.
All right.
Morning, everyone.
Great stuff. Great stuff, everybody. Welcome to Debbie Deal. Tell us about this, and we'll talk to because everybody, all these others are going to be speaking as well, right? But
Sure.
tell us about the webinar and why the chamber is doing this.
Well, about 2 weeks ago, I had posted something on our WhatsApp group about, the amount of hurricanes we're going to have this year and the one that was already out in the Atlantic and that type of thing. And our chair said, Debbie, why don't you guys do a hurricane preparedness thing? So 2 weeks later, here we are. I think it's better for us to do something like this at the very beginning, even though people may not, want to prepare or do anything till later. But there's so many things that need to be done well in advance of an actual storm. Because preparing for a hurricane is not just purchasing 5 gallons of water, some canned goods, and a couple, movies to watch. It's more than that. We've seen that. We've lived that with Grand Bahama, Abaco, and Ragged Island. Those 3 islands are still nowhere near back to where they should be, or back to what they were. And I think it's time for us to really take the bull by the horn and do something now. And there's a lot of things that when you hear other meetings with hurricane preparedness, a lot of things are never touched on. So the list of presenters that we have is an exceptional list, I must say. And I believe that the information that we're going to give tomorrow, by the way, it's tomorrow between 12 and 1:30. That way you can have your lunch and listen to us. You can, give questions in the chat. Please, we want feedback. It's on Facebook as well. So, we really want you to listen and pay attention to this. Also, I just want to point out one thing. We are the Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation. And of course, Ken is the president of the Abaco Chamber. Although we deal mostly with business, let's say, business is not isolated. It is not isolated at all. So we really also have to, at the same time as we're preparing businesses for hurricane season, we must prepare the general public, because the general public, the staff, the security, the cleaning crew, the brokers, and the customers of businesses. So it's very important that we are all inclusive.
Wonderful. Now, you mentioned it, and I guess anybody can jump in on this, but Debbie, you mentioned that there's some things that are never talked about when we talk about hurricane preparedness. So what are some of the things that you're speaking on?
First thing that comes to mind with me is we very seldom talk about the fact that businesses and persons don't always own the property that they are in. So you have a landlord that you need to make sure is on board with doing what is necessary to prepare for a hurricane. If you don't have a landlord that's on board to actually help you with that, then it all will fall on you. So you need to make sure that there's insurances in place for that fact. You need to make sure that if you might have to find a new landlord, you may have to move. These are the kind of things that's one point that I have. I'm sure Tim, Carlos, and Ken have many others.
Yep. What about that in terms of insurance and the landlord not willing to cooperate? What do you do? If you can't move exactly at the moment?
Yeah, if you can't move exactly, then if he's not willing to insure the building you're in, then you may need to speak with him and try and get him to agree for you to insure it and deduct if not the full thing from the rent, at least partially from the rent. But even if he doesn't agree to that, then you might need to consider biting the bullet and just insuring on his behalf to ensure that when things happen, you can get back up and running. And that's where something like business interruption insurance. A lot of businesses here don't carry business interruption insurance, but that's where that becomes critical. Because whilst you're out of business, you may be looking around for new premises and all the rest of it. You're not generating income. A lot of small businesses where the income from the business takes care of the family, and so it becomes very critical to make sure that you have proper cover in place to carry you for this. There's studies that show that any business suffering a catastrophe, there's a significant number which do not come back. And that number is even greater when they are not insured. And I would probably guess that the number is almost just as high when they're inadequately insured. I'm sure Ken has seen it in Abaco, some businesses, if the owners had the money to rebuild it, it's back. If the owners didn't have the money and they weren't insured, then they're probably struggling to get back. If they were insured, they got the money and they could decide whether they want to rebuild or move on.
Yeah.
It's critical, as Debbie said, you can't do that as the hurricane is approaching. You need to sit down with your insurance person and go through everything and make sure you're properly insured well in advance of anything beginning to approach. Because once we have something that's formed out in the ocean, we as insurance companies cannot go out and buy protection for it. And so we can't sell protection for it. So once the storm is formed, once the storm is formed, our reinsurers say to us, sorry, we're not going to sell you any more protection for that storm.
Is that right?
It's a name.
Wow.
Name. So that's why you find that a lot of insurance companies, once hurricanes have formed, or very shortly thereafter, once they're about 48 hours out, you'll find that most insurance companies here will cease selling insurance at that point.
One of the challenges that persons have when taking out insurance is the cost for hurricane or comprehensive insurance versus just the regular type of insurance. When do you recommend persons to choose between the different insurances? If they cannot afford a full comprehensive hurricane insurance, under what conditions would you recommend that they just take out the regular insurance, and what do they need to do to protect themselves additionally if their home is affected by a hurricane? Or
Pam, you need to listen tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Well, callers, and I'm sure we'll touch on that, and Debbie and the rest will touch on that tomorrow. But there are options that insurance companies can give for you to bring down the cost of your insurance. You have to be more intentional about insurance generally as a society. We don't plan for it. We know it's coming up every year, but we never plan for it. We'll save our money for Christmas shopping and for vacation, but none of us ever think to save the money for insurance. And we know that it's something that we need to have. So I think it's being intentional about it. Overall, the cost, if you think about it, the cost of, say, and just to take the home, business isn't a lot more expensive. The cost to insure your home is about 1.3% of the value of your home, right? Roughly, on average. It's going to be higher for some, lower for others. The interest on your home is probably 4, 5, 6%. And so, no one ever complains about the 4, 5, 6% interest that they pay on their mortgage. But obviously, the insurance has we have complaints about that. Right? But it's only a fraction of what the interest is. So I think we as insurance companies have to find better ways to help clients with handling it. And most insurance agents do offer payment plans where you can spread it throughout the year, the same way you spread the interest on your mortgage. If your bank were to say to you, listen, the interest on your mortgage is due on the 1st of June every year, you probably have a major problem, or most people, businesses, whatever, would have a major problem paying that as well. So I think that we just have to be creative in our ways of looking at these things.
Ken Hutton, have you noticed any changes in terms of attitude as it relates to insurance on Abaco? And are there challenges since Dorian with securing insurance there since that horrible storm?
Yeah, there's definitely been challenges with securing or reinsuring properties here. Debbie touched on a really good point that we found is that a lot of the properties, the commercial properties here, were not insured, and as a result of that, the owners didn't have the money to rebuild afterwards. And as a result of that, the central business district of Marsh Harbor, which is the main commercial district for the island, is still only about 40% rebuilt. If you drive down the main road, you still see a lot. Most buildings are still in a state of disrepair. Some are starting to get back, but I mean, what's happened is not only do we have a housing crisis here, but in terms of the commercial businesses, there's nowhere for them to actually locate. So even if you did have a business before the storm and you want to open up again, there's very, very few locations for you to open up. We just got the new Resilience Square opened up That's got, I think there's 4 units left in that. But that's about it. There's really not a lot of places to locate your business here in the central business district. And that's primarily due to no insurance.
Dwight, there's another thing too, is that when people are planning, and Ken led me right into this, when people are planning and preparing before the hurricane, there's very few businesses and persons that actually plan for after the hurricane. Where do you want to be after the hurricane? How are you planning on getting from, a crisis mode to where you need to be? And I think that's one of the things that we really need to address tomorrow. If people are listening, that's one of the things that we'll need to address. That will be part of the resilience that Adele Thomas will talk about.
Mm-hmm. And our Carlos Palacios here with Braun Bahamas. And design is a very important thing when it comes to how you will fare in a hurricane. What are some of the things that we need to be paying closer attention to?
Hey, morning, Dwight. Morning, everyone. Of course, when we talk about design, and the Bahamas is somewhere that hurricanes are just a part of who we are. It's not necessarily front and center of our culture, but we deal with them so regularly that they're a common part of our understanding. And I think a critical part of our approach to this is that we're all first responders, right? So when we're talking about design, it's the preparation, it's the during, and then it's the post conditions. And so when it relates to, let's say, basic upkeep of our homes, right? Tim talked about insurance, and with those insurance requirements comes to the need to maintain certain standards, right? The areas of our roofs, let's say, that might have had a little damage or a few shingles that were lost, they really need to be addressed in order for us to be adequately prepared, right? When we're talking about a larger scale, and we'll touch on some of these things during the hurricane preparedness workshop tomorrow, when we talk about just even speccing or purchasing our hurricane impact windows and doors. What do we buy? How do we know that just because it says it's hurricane rated, that it's actually rated to meet the standards of the Bahamas?
Yep.
With a hurricane starting, around 74, 75 miles an hour, if we purchase windows that we think are hurricane rated, then we're not necessarily ready for what we're getting, right? So all of those considerations are the types of things that are important to us as homeowners and important to us as stakeholders and eventually important to us as first responders as we help to secure our families and our businesses in the community.
Yeah, Carlos, you raise a great point. So we rely so much on other countries' standards. Is it time that we develop our own when it comes to hurricane impact, especially hurricane impact windows and doors? Because we've got them coming from all over, Florida versus China versus wherever. But do we need to have our own criteria?
Sure, and we do actually have criteria that are world leading in terms of some aspects of our regulations and codes, and a lot has happened over the last 6 to 7 years. In fairness, we've been a part extensively of a number of public and private sector projects, and Dr. Thomas, who was mentioned earlier, is one of the regional leaders in climate change adaptation. There are some things that we've done, but the problem we find is there's sometimes a disconnect between it reaching the end stakeholder. We write great policies, there's certain rules and regulations that are in place, but as the average person who will be impacted by it understand it and how to implement it? So I think it begins and ends with education, public awareness, and just starting with the generations. Like my daughter, I try to explain to her why we're doing what we're doing. And it's important, I think, for us to make sure our rollout and our training so that the public can adequately understand and implement some of these things. And there are costs, so there will have to somehow be incentives because the cost of inaction is much greater as it relates to capital as well as our lives than the cost of preparation.
If I could mention one more thing as well, Carlos also led me into this, is in my opinion, we have the best building code in the world for structure, but it doesn't do us any good if we are not adhering to it. And what I mean by that is simple things like hurricane clips. I was lucky enough to go to October after the storm, and Ken was kind enough to drive me around, and I took tons of photographs, which I'm going to show tomorrow. It's all great and good to have a building code that says that you have to put down, bolts to hold your plate on and hurricane clips and hurricane straps. But if the people aren't putting them on, it doesn't serve you any purpose. It's just in writing. And then other things like, doors opening in instead of doors opening out. Again, like Carlos had mentioned, it's education. But if we're not adhering to the laws that we have, the persons who are having buildings built and the persons who are building it for them who are not adhering to the laws, maybe not even using nails that are the right length, actually put that person in jeopardy. So I think the contractors or the persons that are acting as contractors in this country need to be more proactive, and they also need to be more educated on the purpose of it.
Tim, how easy is it for structures to secure insurance? And is there a separate rate for Family Islands versus New Providence?
Yes, generally speaking, most family islands will pay a higher rate than New Providence. It's not just about storm risk, it's about fire risk as well. But the rate will be dependent on the construction of the building. So if you have a wooden building that's near the water, finding insurance is going to be almost impossible these days for you. But if you have a well-built building that's somewhere, at least 100 yards or so from the water, then it's going to be much easier to get it. It's going to be more expensive than New Providence, yes. But it is available. Wooden structures near the water, just not something that's liked by insurance companies or reinsurance companies. We were talking with some reinsurance companies recently about a number of wooden risks we have on a particular island. It's a very significant. And they just were not interested in wooden risk on Family Island.
And to Debbie's point about contractors, and you have some contractors who don't not follow the building code. Do insurance companies take that into consideration? If there's a damage, will they investigate to see if the building code was followed? And if it was not, will that affect the person whose home or whose business was insured?
Generally speaking, no, we don't. We don't look at that if the building is damaged. We have seen, as Debbie said, we have seen in a lot of instances where the building code was not adhered to. We've had studies done afterwards which said to us there might have been widespread ignoring of building codes, but we haven't done anything about it. Hurricane Matthew in Grand Bahama was one of the ones where we had an engineer look at it. And he said if the roofing contractor had read the instructions on the package as to how the shingles should be nailed, he estimated that about 60% of the damage would have been avoided. He said because the shingles were just not properly nailed. He said each shingle needed at least 3 more nails. And he said if you put that in there, it holds it in place a lot better than if you don't. So we see things like that. But unless you're on site watching them do it, it's difficult to tell how many nails they've actually put into the shingles.
But that's a serious weak link that is costing us a lot of money in this country for persons that are uninsured as well as persons that are insured. Because when insurance companies have to pay out, the next year insurances are going to be much higher. So I think the weak links in the construction industry really need to be dealt with. I think, Tim, your insurance company should really look at that, because if the house wasn't built properly, it can't possibly be able to withstand what it's supposed to withstand.
I had a personal situation a few years ago where I had some work that needed to be done in the company, and they denied the claim because they said it was shoddy work. It wasn't done properly in the first place, and they didn't pay the claim out.
So what probably happened, and what we see sometimes, is if you can clearly indicate that the damage that's caused is due to shoddy work or due to lack of maintenance. So if we have a rainstorm and every house on the island is fully watertight, but yours is leaking, then that's a sign that there's something wrong with your roof, and it's not something that an insured, as we would say, an insured peril under the policy didn't operate. The policy doesn't cover lack of maintenance or shoddy work. Now, if your roof or whatever had blown off in a storm, and it's virtually impossible to definitively say that, well, this was due to the shoddy work, then I would probably guess that you wouldn't have had the same issue. But if there's an isolated situation, we get one house on the block with a lot of water coming through it, we send an adjuster out to look at it. In 9 cases out of 10, it's usually a case of, well, there was some improper roofing done, or the wooden roof, the wooden underlay at that area has deteriorated, and because it was installed improperly. And so that's probably, I don't know the full details, obviously, but that can happen in those kind of circumstances.
Wow, Carlos, any tips on what a layperson can do to make sure that their contractor is doing a good job?
That's a good question.
Sure. I would start by saying, and Tim and Debbie touched on some outstanding points. The location, right? I think sometimes we also underestimate the importance of where we choose to live, right? There are options. We might live, let's say, in the islands where certain settlements are more built up than others, or in Nassau where almost everywhere is built up. But there are places that are less vulnerable. And what I mean elevation-wise, right? It's a lot about height. So we do have hills, we do have high areas in Nassau, believe it or not. So it might seem that we're all very low and flat, but we do actually have some very good elevations. And so it's an important area or aspect to understand that unless you are adapting the way you live or the way you build, it's important to be over a certain height. And your surveyors and your engineers and those persons who are professionally trained can help to prepare you for that. But a lot of the failure comes from what we find as simple things. So simple things as in the house was just built too low out the gate. So as a result, the groundwater seeps in. When there's heavy rains, you get ponding. This has long-term structural impacts. As it was mentioned, the shingles or even the boxing, et cetera, weren't properly installed. The hurricane clips, they either were undersized or not put in at all. And a hurricane clip is somewhere around $2. It's a little metal clip. I mean, for your entire house, you're spending maybe $200. So it isn't the things are very expensive. It's, once again, ties into the awareness, the education, and the understanding that we all have a part to play to protect ourselves and our communities.
Wow. So, but what can be done on a policy level to ensure that contractors build according to the standard? Because as a layperson, I don't know what is required for you to build, and I'm not there all the time, but I'm leaving it to the contractor. What can be done from a policy perspective?
There's checks and balances that need to be added, and we know how our culture is, but the reality is other countries that do a good job at it have strict reward and penalty systems, right? So a contractor, once again, let's say how Tim mentioned that a house was built improperly or to some standard. Well, that contractor would now get blacklisted and probably would not be able to build any more houses, right? Which is a penalty system. There could be lawsuits that come from it. The inspectors, let's say, on the regulatory side, who were accountable for signing off on that building, when the file is pulled, if they did not sign and it was inadequately done, then there should be consequences. Mm-hmm. So the reality is there just has to be a leaf or a page that's turned where we now hold each other's feet to the fire. That's the reality of it. But we can do it if we have the discipline to do it.
Right. All right, we're running out of time. Debbie, tell us how we can be a part of the webinar tomorrow, what we need to be doing.
You can contact the Chamber of Commerce, and they will send you a link to go on, or you can actually go on through Facebook. I don't have the contacts. Tim, maybe you do. I only have the office, but of course everybody's working remotely from home. So Tim, would you have the contacts for that? And the meeting, and tomorrow it's from 12 until 1:30. It's your lunch hour. Get your lunch, sit at Montague, use your phone, do Facebook.
Mm-hmm. All right, I have that over here. The chamber is 322-2145. And I've posted your flyer to our Facebook page and to our Twitter page. So if you follow us, you can easily find it.
Anybody get offended if they call the number, nobody answers.
Okay.
There isn't anybody there.
Right. I suggest to have a look at the website as well.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful stuff. Wonderful stuff. And Ken Hutton, you very briefly, I know the last time we spoke, you were concerned about the concessions for Abaco if they're going to be extended, and you did hear that they are. What difference will that make for you all?
Oh, it's a tremendous difference. I mean, it's a real big sigh of relief here that we have some kind of stability going forward for at least the next 6 months. So we're very happy about that.
Yeah.
Again, that's just one thing. Our there's still a number of other issues, but we're very happy that the government chose to extend those concessions.
Wonderful stuff. All right, thank you very much. And Carlos Palacios, we've got to have you and your partners back. We're going to talk about Eden Farms. This is very exciting what you all are doing. Got to get more details about that.
Sure, our pleasure. Whenever you're ready, Dwight.
All right, we'll work that out. All right, Tim
Awesome.
Ingram, thank you so much. Debbie Deal, always, and we're looking forward to the webinar tomorrow.
Thank you
Tuesday,
very much.
June 8th.
Thank you for giving us the time.
All right, we're going to take a break and be back. We're talking about home porting with Nassau Cruise Port after the break with Morning Blend Business.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAL, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
BTC is elevating the Bahamas with our super-fast fiber internet experience. More people in more places can enjoy the best home connection starting with 100 megabit speeds. With over $6.5 million invested, our network grows stronger each day, delivering the best home internet for all your needs. Call us at 242-225-5282. Visit btcbahamas.com or any retail store to upgrade to the super-fast fiber internet experience on the Bahamas' best fiber network.
RBC has been growing with the Bahamas for over 110 years with new ways to bank better. We are committed to deepening our relationship with existing clients and forging new ones in the future with new products and services and investment in the community, youth, and it. We are here to help you grow.
We're here to help you flourish. We're RBC.
RBC Royal Bank. Banking reimagined.
Stay a step ahead of technology with certainty and support from Custom Computers. Our know-how team is here to help you zero in on your next big tech purchase, finding solutions that take your productivity to the next level using only the best and most reliable brands. With 4 stores all across Nassau on East Bay, West Bay, Old Fort Bay, and Palmdale, there's no stopping you from stepping up your tech. Reach out to us at 396-1100. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
The views and opinions of the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Welcome to Morning Blend Business on this Monday, June 7th, 2021. Welcome back to our Morning Blend listeners. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan along with Pamela Musgrove on this Monday morning. And the countdown is on for Royal Caribbean ports, home ports right here in Nassau. That's Saturday, the Adventure of the Seas sailing out of Nassau. And we've been talking about this for quite a while. Home porting is a reality. And here to talk about this, we are very pleased to welcome the General Manager of the Nassau Cruise Port, Mike Mora. Sir, good morning. Great to have you with us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Very exciting times. The countdown is on. Saturday, the big day. We have a lot to talk to you about, but just give us an overall outlook on where things stand at this point, how Nassau Cruise Port is gearing up for Saturday, the big day.
Sure. Well, we're obviously extremely excited. This is the return of cruise tourism for our Bahamas. And we actually will have a ship in port as of this Wednesday. It'll be the Adventure of the Seas. She'll come alongside and she'll sit there on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday being the big day when we have guests with LPIA. And from there, what they'll do is they will then be transported by taxi. They'll make their own travel arrangements in many cases, and they'll go to the Hilton where Royal Caribbean has set up a receiving process and facility to welcome their guests at the Hilton. There, their guests are going to be provided with their wristbands and everything else they need to board the ship. There, they'll also be COVID tested prior to arriving at the Nassau Cruise Port to board the ship. The luggage is actually going to move direct from LPIA to us at Nassau Cruise Port. And we're all set. We have, for the last few months, been constructing a temporary arrivals building, which we have, it's in operation. We've got our luggage scanners down there. We were doing some dry runs over the weekend. We have a lot of exciting things planned for these guests that are coming to Nassau for the purpose of boarding the Adventure of the Seas. We've got Junkanoo celebrations. We have a fantastic underwater mural that we have been working with local artists, and they've painted this fantastic underwater scenery on all of our facilities around our temporary arrivals building. We have obviously been spending a lot of time on the health and safety aspects, putting in the necessary hand sanitizing stations, really a lot of signage around health and safety, social distancing, everyone having to wear a mask. We have a health center that we constructed at the port. We'll have a nurse on staff providing testing as well. All of our staff, for those of us, I'm fully vaccinated and a number of my colleagues, but for those that are not, that are working down at the port, they'll be they'll be tested weekly until such time that they become fully vaccinated. Again, with this idea of just making sure that that the port experience, the cruise experience, is the safest experience that we can offer our guests. But we are truly excited. This has been a team effort with our general contractor, Enca, which has done a phenomenal job. Our team of Marquez Williams, who's our operations manager. We have Maya Nottage, who's our regional marketing, Amanda with communications, Jade and Yaled and Lionel and Ed and Catherine. Everybody has just done a phenomenal job in tourism and the port department. I can't say enough about Senior Commander Wright and his team. They've done a phenomenal job. And but we're all excited and working hard. We all worked through the holiday weekend, and we just can't wait for Wednesday just to kind of get things geared up.
And so Wednesday, this will be the first time there's been a cruise ship since last year. Is that right? Or we've
actually, no. We had the Enchantment that was here a couple of weeks ago. Another Royal Caribbean vessel that came in to drop off luggage scanners.
Okay.
And Royal has, I think people often think of a cruise line or as being, the customer of the port, and that is completely true. But I would say this, in the case of Royal Caribbean, they have been absolute partners in terms of working with us, coming into town, We're hammering out the protocols, making sure everything works for the benefit of their company, our company, the Bahamian people, and the experience of our guests. And but they were, they brought their scanners from South Florida and put them in place. We put them in place, have gone through the training and everything. They've stepped up, and obviously they've selected the Bahamas as a home port start, which is a big deal for us. And our Nassau Cruise Port is the single largest tourism gateway in the country. So it's a big deal to get this thing started back up.
Mm-hmm. So what's changed? You mentioned some of the things, but in terms of the protocols and as a result of COVID, what's going to be different? If someone has cruised before through the port, how will they see that this is not quite the same it used to be?
Well, I mean, I think that I'm sure everybody that's listening to you, or not everybody, but many people that are listening to your show right now have been traveling through airports at some point, and during this COVID experience, nightmare. But what you're finding is you're arriving at a terminal. So let's just say that you're arriving in Fort Lauderdale. You would have received from the cruise line extensive health and safety communication, the protocols that are going to be on the ship, social distancing, hand washing, being mindful of your health, being aware of any symptoms, just as we all do if we're, traveling by air or we're staying in a hotel, or we're even at home or at work. We all have kind of a heightened sense of our circumstance today, I think, which is that goes far beyond, what we would have had a year and a half ago. So you arrive at the terminal. In the case of the cruise line, you're going to get a PCR test, prior to boarding the ship. You would have had to have already complied with the Bahamas Health Visa. So regardless of what ship you're sailing, the fact is that our Bahamas health protocols are primary, if you're coming to the Bahamas, and the cruise line or the state that you're departing from, their health protocols are subordinate or secondary. And so our protocols have to be followed. No, you have to have a RT-PCR negative test within 5 days of arriving in the Bahamas, or you could have been fully vaccinated, in which case, it just makes for a much easier experience, booking experience, process experience. You board the ship, everything has been sanitized. There's a lot of social distancing that's been engineered into the eating areas, the deck areas, and so forth. You would arrive in Nassau, and so from there, you're disembarking. You're getting, overwhelmed with signage that says, wear a mask, wear a mask. There's hand sanitizing stations. Most of our facilities, as you know, our people are moving and walking. There's not a whole lot of standing still. So they're being kind of moved along from a social distancing perspective. In the case of the home, they would have that airport experience arriving at LPIA, again, with the mask, social distancing, hand sanitizing, being processed by our Bahamas Customs and Immigration. They get in their taxi, they go to the Hilton, and their luggage is separated from them at the airport. And their luggage goes into vans and then moves directly to us at the Nassau Cruise Port. We receive these buses or these vans with luggage. We take all the luggage out, even though it's just gone through a very comprehensive TSA process in the United States, and then another customs examination here in Nassau. We still scan all the bags again, and just to make sure that there isn't any contraband, no one's manipulated any of the luggage between the airport and the cruise port. And then after we scan every single piece, we then deliver it to the ship. And each of the bags are tagged by floor. There's a color-coded process because as the ship receives those bags, they're basically going to be moving, batches of bags, batches of luggage to particular floors on the ship to be able to get them to the cabins.
So what if you come early? If you come, like, say tomorrow, would that be the same process, or you want to stay a
Yeah,
few
so
days?
you would still, I mean, because that's what we all want. We all want these guests to have arrived early or to stay a few days later.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that instance, or for example yourself, if you chose to take a cruise on this ship, you would then take your bags to the Hilton, and you would be processed at the Hilton. So for those guests that may have come and stayed at the Hilton or stayed at Atlantis, Baha Mar, or an Airbnb, they would be showing up on Saturday beginning at 12 noon at the Hilton with their bags and to be processed at the Hilton.
Okay.
And then their bags will move by van to us from the Hilton, and those passengers will move on buses from the Hilton here to the cruise port.
So how many passengers are you expecting for this inaugural cruise since the pandemic?
So Pamela, we are anticipating about 1,100 to 1,200 passengers that would be basically kicking this off for us. So it's an exciting time. That's a lot of people when you haven't seen many people.
Quite a bit. Quite a bit.
When we finish, this magic that we're doing here along the waterfront, we would expect about 30 to 35,000 people in a day coming off these ships. So 1,000 sounds like a lot, is a lot, but we have the staff, the team, professionals to be able to handle this and really truly give this group a real special taste of the Bahamas, and make it, give them all a story to take back home and say, man, we got to get back down to Nassau again soon.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you about other ports nearby, Florida and Texas. They're announcing that they will likely this summer get started. What will that mean for this home porting initiative here? Is that going to be a challenge? Is that just healthy competition? What do you make of that?
Well, Dwight, I think, it's our reality has been that, we've paid our bills off of what we call the transit passenger. And so, in 2019, we had just about 3 million transit passengers. And those obviously are the passengers that arrive on the ship, at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then they sail at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So their time in Nassau is very limited. But that's 3.9 million passengers. Nassau historically has been, one of, if not the busiest transit ports in the world. And we will continue to be one of the busiest transit ports in the world. We will continue to have millions and millions and millions of transit passengers. From a home port perspective, we have been given an opportunity, and excuse me, I'm on Bay Street, Byron.
Yeah.
But we have been given this opportunity to kick off the cruise industry, to allow ships to home port here in Nassau. And we are going to enjoy this for as long as it lasts. I think we have a chance of seeing home porting continue for a number of years. Do I think that all of the home port ships that we are going to be working with over the next couple will continue for several years? No, I don't. All of their infrastructure, most of their infrastructure is in, those Florida home ports like Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Canaveral, Tampa. But I would say this, what I think the industry has learned is that having all of its eggs in, the basket, the single basket being South Florida or the US, there's a cost to that. And so not to say that health protocols don't need to be the very best and the sharpest that they should be, because they always need to be. But I think there's an opportunity here for us to demonstrate to this industry that we can be an effective home port partner for a ship or two, not the fleet, but a ship or two.
Okay.
And so that's our focus.
So what can the average Bahamian, not the government, but the average Bahamian do to make this home porting experience economically beneficial and profitable for the Bahamas?
Well, that's a great question. That is the question. And I think, first of all, in the meetings that we've had with our team and with our partners down here at Nassau Cruise Port. When I say partners, security personnel, customer service personnel, and so forth. The fact is, this industry very few industries have gone through. We all know this because, so for those, listeners that you have that have worked in the hotels and so forth, they get it, right? They get the impact that COVID has had on their lives. The cruise industry has had a similar impact. It's been devastating. And so here we are at the doorstep of a return to cruise tourism. And as Bahamians, the first thing, in my view, that we should be doing is when we see that guest standing in front of us, before we think about how much money they're going to give us, is say, thank you for choosing Nassau. Because they chose at a time when the industry has gone through all of the, negative press and everything. These people got on an airplane, number one, to travel to Nassau to get on a cruise ship. And they chose to do it here in the Bahamas. And so, I am personally very, very grateful to every single one of those people that have chosen to select Nassau as the start of their vacation for this 2021 year. And I think that what we have to do is, this has really been, in my opinion, a wake-up call to all of us of just about, we've always known we've been so dependent on tourism, but when you don't have it, you really know how dependent you are. Mm-hmm. And so I think this focus about superior customer service, superior experience, we can't afford to have the foul language, across the street on Bay Street. We can't afford to have the buildings that look like they're falling apart. We need to, stand up, shake ourselves off, and put our best, self forward and in front of these people. When these passengers arrive at OPIA, it's going to be up to them to choose which taxi they want to take, whether they're going to a hotel because they've come early with the process. It's going to be up to them to decide which restaurants they're going to go eat. And again, this focus on, thank you for choosing Nassau. Thank you for choosing my taxi. Thank you for coming to my restaurant. This graciousness, this being humble to say, thank you so much for choosing us, because God has given us so much in the way of our geography, our people, and there isn't a warmer community than the Bahamian community. Mm-hmm. But we all have to put our game face on and bring our A game to this business. But I think there's local transport opportunities, there's local restaurant opportunities. The cruise line, RCCL, is not going to kind of take control of this passenger until they show up at the Hilton. So that guest can do whatever they want prior to arriving at the Hilton. Mm-hmm. I think we've got to get into our marketing, our promotions, and let people know, that there's a lot to do before jumping on that cruise.
Yeah. I am all for gratitude, and I think we ought to do that and deliver superior customer service. But what I want, not necessarily from you, but from our officials, to give advice to Bahamians in terms of how we can use this industry to create wealth. Because I think that's where the frustration is. A lot of persons, yes, we need workers in the industry, and people are frustrated because that's all that's being offered to us. They want to be able to, just like how the cruise ship can look at this as great wealth-producing opportunities, Bahamians, the average Bahamian, would also want to look at this as a way that they can enhance their own situation and create wealth from it, and not just employed in the industry to give that customer service, but even having their own businesses on the side and being able to offer those services to the cruise ship passengers so that they can participate in also securing foreign currency earnings for the country.
I think, Pamela, if you had a number of cruise lines on the show right now, they would probably say things like, for several years, they have been, sharing that there needs to be more experience, there needs to be more attractions for these passengers. And so when you think about what you're saying, which is, kind of entrepreneurial creativity and development of our product, and again, something that's done by Bahamians, there is an opportunity there, but we don't have, the cruise industry will tell us all that there isn't the menu of kind of appropriate, exciting venues and excursions is too short, that there needs to be more creativity. More funding from the cruise industry is that there's this major efforts to improve their environmental focus. So whether it is, some kind of immersion in coral reefs and the impact of global warming, there's like an educational component to it. There's, it could be as simple as shelling. These people want something to do. They want a story to take back home, something that is unique to us. But what they end up getting often is some kind of manufactured experience, as opposed to something that's genuine and kind of authentic to what we are and who we are. So I think that's where those of the persons that are listening to the show, if they've got these great ideas, and I think the cruise industry will partner, with a number of people that are coming up with great ideas to kind of make something special. But this, the way we have done it for so long isn't the way it needs to work in the future.
Absolutely. We know that you all have a lot of exciting things happening at the port downtown, but I haven't driven through in a few weeks. The upgrades to the buildings, have we seen that? Can you tell us? Maybe I need to take a drive today. But downtown been spruced up at all?
You have. I mean, yesterday when I was down, there's a definite effort to clean up downtown. Downtown Bay Street has been hit, even though I think we would all agree that the people that own the real estate downtown probably aren't scrapping for food, but they have been out of business for a year. And so I think that there needs to be, I'm not an expert on this, but I think the government, if it hasn't already, needs to really take a look at what can be done to improve that downtown look. One of the biggest problems we have is that you'll have a nice building, then dilapidated building, nice building, and two dilapidated buildings. And then if you go east of East Street, I mean, it's like, a completely different town.
Yeah.
And so there needs to be, I think, a comprehensive effort to clean up downtown. But I would tell you that, it's getting cleaned up right now, but you can't fix, 20 years of insufficient attention. I was going to use the word neglect, but that's probably too strong a word.
Oh no, not strong enough. Not strong enough. Not strong enough. But we get your point.
I think you're not going to be able. So, but we need to get something happening down there because again, that's what these tourists they disembark, and they start walking east and they go about 300 feet and they say, well, that place looks like everything down here looks like it's closed, and then they turn around and go back. So it really kind of isolates the traffic from west of East Street to the Hilton.
Yeah.
Or to they are going down to Junkanoo Beach and they are going down to the Fish Fry. But we need a stronger effort to work better with those landlords that are on the east side. And it's not going to take, $100,000. We're talking millions. But it's going to take some real money to kind of clean up that part of town.
Do you have any numbers as yet as to how many people are coming in early or staying after they get off the cruise? Do you have that information as yet? Do we know?
I don't know. I mean, our focus, is really just to get our facility ready. I mean, we're still a construction site, so we are. We've been working day and night to create this temporary experience in the midst of a construction site. So that's what our focus is. We started taking down the Port Department building about 4 days ago. So for persons that have not been downtown in a while, if they come down, if they were driving down East Street towards where the Port Department building is, you'd find that everything but the tower has come down. So, and then, it's our Upland works start next month, which is the new arrivals terminal, the F&B, the retail, which is all authentically Bahamian. And again, a major part, fundamental to our theme of Nassau Cruise Port, is that our focus is about enhancing the destination and not creating a competition for Bay Street. So our focus is all about authentically Bahamian, giving a guest, whether they're coming from Atlantis or whether they're coming from Baja Mar or they're coming off their cruise ship, an opportunity to have an experience that they would not find in Cayman, they wouldn't find it in St. Thomas, they wouldn't find it in Barbados, they wouldn't find it in Miami or New York. And because we want our investment to be something that when they complete those tourism surveys and it's about, what was your experience like? We want them to say, Nassau was awesome. We don't want them to say, Nassau Cruise Port was awesome. We want them to say Nassau was awesome. And so that's where our focus is.
On the survey note, will Nassau Cruise Port be doing surveys of the passenger experience?
Yes, we will be doing surveys in terms of how they find our facility. We want to hear from them from the perspective of, just the overall experience, their engagement with our team, our staff, what could we be doing better, and those types of things for sure.
Okay, and will you disclose it? Because I know the Ministry of Tourism does surveys, but we don't know what passengers. We feel like we know what they're saying, but they don't disclose those to the general public. Will you be disclosing the results, the summarized results of your survey, so that we can better prepare ourselves? Like if passengers are saying that, there are not enough attractions or downtown is just not suitable, at least if we as Bahamians know that, then we can lobby or, and push government to do something about that, as opposed to not knowing anything and continuing to do the same things over and over.
Yeah, Pamela, the surveys that we will be doing would, include everything from, is our bathroom clean enough? So that I would say what we'd have to do is cherry pick some of the information to make sure that it's meaningful to all of us. But yes, I think that, and a lot of those are going to come from these surveys as well that the cruise lines do, because the cruise lines obviously have their own surveys.
Yeah.
And so I think that, when we take what we're collecting, what the cruise line's collecting, what tourism is collecting, I agree with you. I think that is something that, quarterly we should be, publishing, because if it's done annually, it's too easy to forget. But if it's done quarterly, we can all stay focused on it.
Now, we know we don't have you for much longer, but let me ask you, we know that next month we've got another cruise line coming, Crystal Cruises. Tell us about that logistically. Does that present any challenges for you? What else needs to be done to prepare for two vessels that are going to be home porting?
Sure. Well, what's exciting about the first week of July is that we actually have, on the 2nd of July, we'll have the Celebrity Edge. On the 3rd of July, we're going to have the Adventure will be here along with it. And then on the 4th of July, we'll have the Celebrity Edge again. So that's going to be a great weekend, Friday through Sunday. But to answer your question, the Crystal guest is different than the typical passenger for Royal or for the others, in that this is a boutique cruise. The general kind of income bracket of the Crystal passenger is pretty high up there, and the Crystal passenger is definitely one that would be coming in a few days early to really, enjoy the hotel, enjoy the experience, lie on the beach, go to the restaurants and those types of things, or stay later, or do both. So now the passenger count is about half of what we would receive on a Royal vessel. So in the case of Crystal, it's probably going to be 500 or 600 passengers, which again is at reduced occupancy because of the COVID protocols and so forth. But the bang for the buck, so to speak, is much greater with that Crystal passenger.
Okay, I have two questions. One of the challenges that person have with cruise ship passengers, they only spend about $60 to $80 thereabout, and you could correct me if I'm off. What do we need to do as a country to increase cruise ship passengers' spend? And I know government probably gets about $18 tax per head for each cruise ship passenger. what other revenue does government get from, or that the Bahamas, whatever income the Bahamas can earn from cruise ship passengers outside of the $18 and about $60 to $80 spend in the country?
Okay, well, I mean, that your numbers, I mean, it in, you know, whether it's 60 or 80 or 100, the point you're making is the same, right? But I would say this to all of us, including, you know, myself looking in a mirror here. I would say if our cruise visitors are spending $80, why is that? When we all travel, we've all worked hard for that money. No one gave it to us. We earned it. And if another port someplace in the Caribbean is making $200 per passenger and we're making 80, it to me what that says is there's more value in the destination that is enjoying the 200. And so from that perspective, I would say, you know, our destination different, and what is our value proposition, whether I'm a small retailer, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a restaurant owner, I'm a taxi driver, I'm an excursion operator. What is it about mine? Because when that visitor, if they're picking a tour and they're looking at you know, a description on a piece of paper about a tour and whether they should do it in Nassau or whether they should wait till they get to Grand Turk or whether they should do it in Jamaica or Grand Cayman or whatever, you know, it's our branding, our experience. What is it that is special? And that's going back to what we're trying to do at Nassau Cruise Port, which is we're trying to make sure that we're creating and introducing experiences and products and food and culture and art that is not available anywhere else. And generally speaking, and I am speaking generally here, that I am prepared to spend more on something that I can't find somewhere else than I'm prepared to spend on that same product that I could also pick up in Miami or St. Thomas or some other place. So I think that's our opportunity. That is our opportunity, which is to differentiate our product from all of the other competing ports, all of the Miami shops, all of the New York shops. What is it? And then we have to sell it. You know, what are we doing from a marketing and branding perspective to sell it? And that's exciting in that at the Nassau Cruise Port, Antonius Roberts is going to be the curator of our art area. And, you know, when a visitor comes and they get to stand in front of a Bahamian artist that's just finished a painting or has a painting, and the artists themselves are talking about, you know, what they were thinking when they conceived this masterpiece, that is an opportunity for someone to make $500, $1,000, because there's this relationship that's just happened, as opposed to a bunch of paintings hanging on a wall and there's no attachment to it. You know what I'm saying? So, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Do you think the curfew that we have in place will be a hindrance to the potential that you and Pam are talking about? Do you think that's going to be a challenge? And the fact that stores close so early downtown often is, do we have to readjust this, reevaluate this now, especially with so many people who are going to be overnighting?
We are in transition with COVID. 6 months ago, I wasn't fully vaccinated. I'm fully vaccinated today. This past weekend, I got to go sit inside of a restaurant. Yay for me. We're going to get through this. A big part of our, investment in our waterfront is about the experience at night as well. Our amphitheater, the concerts, the music. And it's, and we believe that when you've got 3,000 to 5,000 people downtown listening to music at Nassau Cruise Port, there's going to be an incentive for businesses downtown to keep their lights on past, 5 or 6 o'clock. So we believe that we are going to be a positive, influence on economic, cultural success and activity downtown in the months to come.
Yeah. And just really quickly, your timeline, how are we looking for the redevelopment of the port?
So we're looking in summer of 2022, which is only, what is that?
1 year.
Yeah. We're going to be rocking and rolling down here.
Oh my, very exciting, very exciting. So we're all looking forward to this weekend. We hope that this will not just be a 6-month experiment, and this sounds like there are many opportunities to be realized here. Mike Moore Jr., thank you so much for talking with us this morning. We really appreciate you and the extra time you gave us today.
Thank you both.
All right. And again, good luck to you and to everybody. Thank you so much. All right. We're going to take a break and be back with more Morning Blend Business. This is Morning Blend Business, brought to you in part by Cash and Go. Need cash now? Then choose Cash and Go. In 48 hours or less, you could have up to $5,000 with Cash and Go and Cash Now. Apply in the app or at cashandgobahamas.com.
It's the best of me when I'm sailing. All caught up in the reverie. Every word is a symphony. Won't you believe me? Sailing takes me away.
Hello, sir. Your credit card bill is due. Hello, sir. Loan payment. Tired of creditors pounding at your door? Sign up for a debt consolidation loan from Fidelity Bank and consolidate your debt into one low monthly payment. What's more, you'll also earn interest on a built-in savings account. The pandemic has curbed many freedoms, but at Fidelity, our focus is to help regain your financial freedom. Visit a branch or speak to Fidelity Bank at 356-7764. COVID safety measures in place at all branches. Fidelity, we're good for you.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAL, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
Pay all your bills at Cash and Go. Send your money from Cash and Go. Tap up your minutes. Cash and Go.
Did you know Cash and Go accepts in-store cash deposits? Any merchant within our network can have their clients deposit funds directly into their account at any of our 20 plus locations.
Cash and Go. Pay all your bills at Cash and Go. Send your money from Cash and Go. Tap up your minutes. Cash and Go. Pay insurance at Cash and Go. 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's at Cash and Go.
Beulah gal, can you believe this? We are now the patrol queens of the neighborhood.
We now large and in charge. So we need to check out what's going on in everybody's yard. What about that gun that we know that Junior and his homeboys just ran out? Can we report that too?
Of course we can.
But we could be in deep trouble if they find out.
We need to report what we see, Beulah. When you call Crime Stoppers, they just answer your call in Miami.
So then we can report everything? Guns, where they hiding the drugs, who shoot who part of which gang, or who disturbing the peace with the loud music and the motorcycles.
Then our neighborhood will be the best in the Bahamas, and everybody gonna want to come live here. And then our house price will go up, gal.
So what we waiting on? What's the number?
If you see something, say something. Let us all pitch in and stop the crime before it's your time. Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands. Or text us through the Crack Crime Bahamas app. Stop the crime before it's your time.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
It is time for your morning business report brought to you by CFAL. The Ministry of Finance is assessing what impact the G7 nations' proposed global tax reform, namely the move to introduce a global minimum corporate tax for multinational entities, what this will have on the Bahamas and its financial services sector. The Ministry of Finance issuing a statement on this yesterday explained that the G7 made its decision on Friday to move forward on the minimum corporate tax rate. It also explained that the Bahamas will maintain its sovereign right to determine the tax structure best suited to the ongoing development of the country. It added that this country has been part of the ongoing discussions on shifting global tax measures since 2018. It said, quote, not only is the Bahamas a member of the inclusive framework on BEPS, base erosion and profit shifting, but the country also has representation on the steering group with the selection of Stephen Coakley Wells of the Ministry of Finance to the steering group last year. It says the discussion on reforming the international taxing structure for multinational entities is being directed by the 24-member OECD G20 steering group of the Inclusive Framework on Base Erosion and Profit Shifting. You can read more on this in today's Guardian Business section. In a high-energy pitch released this weekend, Royal Caribbean International announcing that its first sailing from the U.S. to the Bahamas since the COVID-19 pandemic halted cruise sailings will take place on July 3rd. The cruise line, in a statement, said its comeback will kick off with the July sailing of its Freedom of the Seas cruise ship for a special 4th of July weekend sailing from Miami to the Bahamas' private island Perfect Day at Coco Key. On August 23rd, the cruise line will begin sailing its Mariner of the Seas cruise ship for regular 3- and 4-night Bahamas and Perfect Day at Coco Key sailings. President and CEO Michael Bailey says after more than a year after being docked, the wait is over for sailings to begin thanks to the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccines. And the government is ensuring the country is covered financially in case of major catastrophe, such as a hurricane, by reapplying for the Inter-American Development Bank's $100 million Rapid Access Loan Facility. Acting Financial Secretary Marlon Johnson telling Guardian Business that the $20 million still sits in the dormant accounts fund to be assessed. And in an emergency, Johnson says the three major facilities the country has in its post-hurricane rebuilding arsenal are the IDB $100 million facility, the Dormant Account Fund, and the country's Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility policy. While the government has had to ante up hundreds of millions of dollars on COVID-19 pandemic, Johnson saying last week that the country still has some financial safeguards in place to soften the economic blow that could come from a major hurricane this year. In your Market Watch, recapping trading on the BISX from Thursday, your market movers, J.S. Johnson moving 775 shares, closing at $15.50, unchanged. Consolidated Water up 6 cents, closing at $2.58. Emir Incorporated down 3 cents, closing at $11.69. The BISX All-Share Index closing at 1,931, unchanged. That's your Market Watch, and that is your morning business report brought to you by CFAL, growing wealth for future generations. And tune in tonight at 6:30 p.m. right here on Guardian Radio for CFAL Talks right after the news. And we've got your final look at weather for today. We've got a ridge of high pressure that continues to dominate the weather across the country with moderate breezes and pleasant conditions. Beachgoers should be alert, though, for rip currents along east and south coast beaches. For today, look for sunny, warm, and breezy conditions, isolated showers or thunderstorms becoming fair and breezy with a chance of passing showers tonight. Small craft operators should continue to exercise caution. 82 degrees, mostly cloudy skies right now in Nassau. Look for highs getting up to around 89 Fahrenheit, 31 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down about 73 Fahrenheit, 23 Celsius. In your extended outlook, high pressure is expected to remain across the area, generating breezy conditions. However, mid to upper level troughing will enhance shower activity. For Tuesday, look for mostly sunny and breezy conditions. A few isolated showers and thunderstorms becoming fair and breezy at night with a few possible showers. Wednesday, partly cloudy, a bit breezy with isolated showers and thunderstorms mainly in the southeast Bahamas. We're watching the tropics, an area of low pressure expected to develop in the southwestern Caribbean Sea by Thursday or Friday. Some gradual development will be possible as the system moves slowly northwestward towards Central America. Formation chance through 5 days is low at about 20%. That's your morning blend weather check.
Find serenity. Oh, the canvas can do miracles. Just you wait and see. Then you believe me.
And we are back here with Morning Blend Business. Dwight Strachan along with Pamela Musgrove. Our final few minutes here. And interesting discussion just now with Mike Moore Jr. as we gear up just a few days for the initial sailing of the Adventure of the Seas from Nassau. And home porting, we've been talking about it quite a bit. And I see some of your text messages. And as you've seen, if you are a regular listener to the show, you know that we don't have the answers for you. With regards to that, as we thought this might have been a great opportunity for some entrepreneurs to position themselves to take advantage of the numbers that are going to be coming to town. And it's going to be a little more challenging. You're going to have to be very creative and seemingly reach out to your politicians about it, unfortunately. But yeah, if you are an artist, if you are a vendor, if you don't have a store downtown, what do you do? Mm-hmm. What do you do? Will you be able to convince folks who are in maybe just overnighting before the cruise or overnight after the cruise to come out to where you are elsewhere on the island? You're going to have to work a little bit harder, it seems.
I think home porting is not a phenomenon. It's just
No.
stopover tourists that are going onto the cruise ship. You know, I looked at some numbers, and back in 1998, our stopover visitors was about 1.4 million. Stopover, stayover, or they call them stayover now. It peaked in 2005 to 1.5 million. We had a banner year in 2019.
Yeah.
7.29 million tourists in total. Do you know how much the stopover was?
I'm going to guess it was under 1 million.
1.5.
Oh, all of that? Wow.
million.
Okay.
No, but see those numbers?
Mhm.
You went from 1.3 in 1998. That's
So it
over.
hasn't moved much.
It has not moved much.
The number of tourists, though, that's increasing. Oh, that had
Right.
been, but the number of people choosing to stay overnight in this country
Has not
Yeah.
increased much. And then, so that's why I was saying the argument has always been, yeah, well, cruise ships, but they don't spend a lot of money. So then the strategy should be, how do we increase the spend of our cruise ship tourists?
Yeah. Well, Pam, you and I have this conversation at least once a month that we have to offer, and it just can't be certain groups. It can't just be the port downtown, and it just can't be this hotel with this, and it just can't be this place, right? We need to have a strategy, a complete strategy for the whole area, maybe the whole island, for the whole country, right? What's going to be
a
unique
tourism
about
strategy,
this, right?
yeah.
What is unique about Nassau? Mike Moore mentioned it. How will this be different from St. Thomas? How will it be different from Miami?
See, because I like I said earlier, the way that we can really capitalize on tourism to have the economic growth that we desire is for more of those tourist dollars to remain in the country. If you have the pie and most of the dollars are leaving the country and going elsewhere into big companies, it doesn't benefit us to that extent.
Yeah.
And until we have our officials really look at that and analyze how we can do that to keep, that's the strategy. How do we keep more of those dollars in this country?
Yeah.
That's how we will realize the economic growth from tourism that we so desire.
Well, we got to keep pushing, pushing so they understand it, that many of us can benefit from this. It can be a lot of us, not just the same usual players downtown, right? But you heard, you gotta behave yourselves now with the cruise ships here this weekend.
It's always nice to behave.
It's fun. It can be fun. Pamela Musgrove,
Thanks,
thank you very
Dwight. Have
much.
a blessed
Appreciate
week,
it.
Bahamas.
I'll see you next week. I'll be back tomorrow morning with more Morning Blend and Morning Blend Business right here on Guardian Radio 96.9. Stay tuned for On the Clock with Aaron Green.